Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I'm Julian Musha. I'm joined by Rachel Wilkinson.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about Andor Season 2, Episodes 4 through 6, or the second arc or second Andor movie from Season 2.
Yeah.
We're not going to get into all of the stuff that the preamble we had last week, where we had Star Wars Celebration to cover. I do have one thing I want to talk about. I did go see the 20th anniversary release of Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
So I'm not going to obviously we're not going to do a full review of Revenge of the Sith, but I will talk about it.
I didn't even realize that, like, in theaters?
Yeah, in theaters.
Why did I not realize that was a thing that I could go do? Is it still happening?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh.
I think so. It is the largest, but you have to act soon, I think, if you're going to do it.
Yeah, probably.
We went last Friday.
Nice.
Jeremy and I. And, it's officially the largest re-release of all time. Like,
really?
It has made the most amount of money of any theatrical re-release ever.
I can see that, though. Like, it's
kind of the perfect, it's 20 years old, so the kids will all want to see it, and it's
like nostalgic for people our age.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Tell you what, that movie is still very good.
Yeah.
It's still hokey as hell.
It's one of my favorites of all of them. It's, I think, my top favorite of all of them.
There is a moment, okay, so there's lots of laughing in the theater, like lots of wow, that's a really brutal line, and like stuff like that. And then a lot of people talking along or like repeating the lines
Oh, really?
as it was happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like during the
fight.
big fight.
Yeah.
There's like
You were my brother, Anakin.
exactly. There was a lot of that. Yeah. But I forgot about the line where he's like, Anakin, Emperor Palpatine is evil.
Yeah.
And Anakin's response is, well, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. And it's like, wow, you're stupid.
Yeah.
You are truly the dumbest.
Yeah.
There's also a really funny moment that I managed to crack up the audience by laughing myself because no one else was laughing at it.
Yeah.
But there's this moment where at the very beginning, Padme is like, what if we're on the wrong side?
Mm-hmm.
And Anakin looks at her and he's like, you sound like a separatist.
Yeah.
and I just like, I couldn't contain it. Like it just escaped me. Like I just had to laugh at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it cracked up a bunch of people. It was really, that one was really funny. But yeah, there's some really great moments in that movie still. The music absolutely rips.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, John Williams is working at like the height of his powers in this movie. And the thing that's so cool about it is that they essentially thought that this was like the last connective tissue between the original trilogy or like the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. So they were doing all these like musical cues to the original trilogy that, you know, that still work, but then got to be like evolved in, you know, new works like Rebels and Clone Wars and all those things. They got to like use those leitmotifs and stuff that arrived in the prequels and then expanded on it, and these kind of like blended over. Kevin Kenner, especially from the Clone Wars stuff, got to use a lot of that stuff. It's really good. There's this one sequence that's like pure cinema. Jeremy was saying how much he liked it after the movie, where Anakin is just learned the truth about the Emperor.
Okay.
About Palpatine. And I mean, it's all this stuff is so funny because it's like anyone just made one different decision, things would have been different. But like,
well, yeah, that's the whole series.
Yeah, 100%.
That's everything. Yeah.
But like, you have Mace Windu being like, "Wow, you really earned my trust, but you need to hang out here, stay here under no supervision."
Mm-hmm.
Stay here under no supervision and don't interfere. And so he goes back to his little apartment or whatever, or he's in his room in the temple.
Yeah.
And the music swells and he's like pacing in his room and he's like, what do I do? What do I do? He's not saying, I mean, he's thinking that.
Yeah.
And he's like staring out into the city, and then Padme's in her like luxury loft, and then staring out at the temple, and it's like they're connecting.
Right. Yeah.
And the music is swelling. It's gorgeous. Everything looks great. The sun is setting. And then of course you get him jumping into his speeder and then going and cutting off Mace Windu's arms. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Anyway, yeah, some great moments that I completely forgot about. The movie is imperfect, but most of Star Wars is imperfect, so
yeah.
I'm okay with it. It's just it's an absolutely gorgeous movie. The clones look better than ever. I just wish we still got CG clones. I remember complaining about this before. I know that this was a sticking point. Clones, they're CG. That's dumb. And it's like, no. They look cool when they're CG. When you put real people in that armor, it looks even worse.
Yeah, I know you don't like the way they move
they
when
look
it's
so
real
stupid.
people.
So it's like, they don't move like an animated character, which is a problem because they are all animated. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's if you didn't get a chance, I think it's still in theaters for another week.
Okay.
I also wanted to go see Sinners in IMAX because that was like it's the vampire movie from the guy who did Nope and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Okay.
So that's supposed to be really great. I didn't get a chance to see that on IMAX, and now of course it's out of IMAX because Marvel is Thunderbolts is in IMAX. So womp womp. All right. Anyway, let's get into Andor. Just before we do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to find everything that we do over at Tower of Babel, head over to towerofbabel.ca. You can find mostly the last episode we did was our farewell to Jeremy as a part of the film club episode we did for what is that stupid movie called with Keanu Reeves?
The Devil's Advocate?
No, that's a great poll though. We did reference the Devil's Advocate.
Oh, is it Constantine?
Constantine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so we did a deep dive on Constantine, fun movie. So that's on there. As I mentioned last week, TOB is under reconstruction, so don't mind that. But lots of Star Wars content over there. Have we decided what we're gonna do for Tales of the Underworld yet? Or are we gonna wait till Andor's over to cover it? I feel like we should.
Yeah, I feel like that
What's
makes
the rush?
the most sense. I don't think it's like enough of a, not that it's not enough of a drop, but I think it's fine for people to
it's like
hear our opinions on it.
we're already doing a movie a week. What more do people want?
Yeah. It'd be too much to try to double it up.
Mhm.
So, because I'm not willing to do a 5-hour podcast.
Yeah,
so.
what was it the last time that we were trying to do two shows at the same time?
I don't know, Bad Batch and something else, maybe.
Bad Batch and something else, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been Andor, to be honest.
Could have
Bad
been.
Batch and Andor
Yeah.
season 1, the first couple
Yeah.
episodes. So that sucked. Let's not do that again. We're gonna wait till after this is done. I will watch it probably.
Yeah.
but
Plus,
then
it's nice to draw out our content a little bit so that we
Yeah,
have more
exactly.
weeks of content.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
Andor is certainly not concerned about that.
Yeah.
Although it is nice. Again, I think I mentioned this last week that Tony Gilroy is like, oh, those poor podcasters.
Oh, did he actually say that?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad. It's just the way it has to be. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
okay.
at least he acknowledged
Yeah.
us, specifically us.
Specifically us.
Yeah, friend of the show.
I'm actually,
Tony Gilroy.
I'm wondering if we made a mistake in not reaching out to Lucasfilm to get screeners for this show, and maybe we should have. I don't know if we have the pull for that, but I mean, why not? If that incel Star Wars theory can get them, then I'm sure we can get
right?
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that guy. I can't. I did laugh at that meme you said.
Yeah,
you
it's
sent me,
really
though.
funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, there are lots of Star Wars. I mean, what is nice about having moved off of Twitter and onto Blue Sky is there's less crazy people.
Yeah.
Which
I should start posting more on there.
if I was Saw Gerrera, I wouldn't have that would suck for me because he's clearly insane.
Yeah.
But I'm not, so I actually like dealing with the sane people over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get to see, or I don't have to see a lot of the oh, Andor isn't Star Wars. It doesn't have all the adventure tropes of Star Wars has and all that stuff. It's like, who gives a shit? Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's
Things
that
can be different and still good.
that meme. It was like, oh, Star Wars is or Andor's too dark for Star Wars, and it was like, oh yeah, well I have a show for you.
Yeah.
Here's a show. It's the Young Jedi Adventures, which is literally for toddlers.
Yeah. Right.
Which is a funny, jab.
That's insane. Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. It is funny, like the difference between those apps these days. Like I haven't opened X or Twitter in forever.
It's good. Don't. It's not worth it.
Threads just feels like it's a lot of just people posing questions for engagement.
Yeah,
bait,
100%.
and it's just like the dumbest question. It's like, hey, women, what are some red flags for men? Like, it's just
it's
like
always
such
it's
stupid
like
shit.
that all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually crazy, and I
Like-
feel like I'm taking crazy pills because they do get a lot of
They
engagement.
do, right?
And it's like, are you
wild.
guys not able to tell that this is clearly bait? Like,
Yeah,
I just
think
don't
it's
get it.
honestly boomers on there too. Like,
Oh, maybe.
Because
Yeah, but like, how many boomers are on Instagram? I feel like the
Lots.
line between Instagram and Threads is like pretty strong.
I don't
Like,
know.
It pushes you. Instagram is always trying to push you over to Threads.
Mhm.
I find.
It is, and it gets me all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
because
well,
it's
that
like
looks interesting.
it's a picture, and it's like, oh, what? Why?
Yeah, it
if
gets me
listen,
all
if you're
the time.
posting pictures, post them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Threads is not for pictures.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
But yeah, I need
Uh,
to start posting on Blue Sky more because I think that would be more fun.
it is more fun.
Maybe we can drag some more people to come over here and listen to us from
It's
there.
more. It's a lot more refreshing and less
Yeah.
stressful. So anyway, you can follow us on Blue Sky. Just search for Tower of Babel podcast over there. You can find me on there as well, Julian Mush. I post mostly about not Star Wars stuff, hockey,
Right.
urbanism, etc. I got really excited about. Turns out Winnipeg Transit is going to be investigating a new fare system, so you can pay with your credit card or pay with tap.
oh, they can't do that yet?
No,
Like you can't get on the bus with a
Mm-mm.
debit card?
It's going to cost them $2 million or something like that to implement.
How much does it cost to get a fucking square? Like the
Yeah, I
tap
don't think you can
thing?
just get a square, but I don't think it works that way. Anyway, yes,
Whatever.
that is, I think, maybe coming because who's carrying around fucking coins in 2025?
Mm,
Nobody.
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 Yeah.
And you don't even know where you could buy a bus ticket? 7-Eleven, but half of them are closed now.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. The grocery
I get.
store?
No, I don't think even. I don't think.
University campus.
Yeah,
was
University
the last time
campus.
I bought one.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck.
Insane.
Anyway, the 21st century. Here we are, podcasting like it's a radio show. And patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast help support the show, help keep the lights on, especially as we're covering this show. And also, we should acknowledge, speaking of hockey, the elephant in the room. This is a day late.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
His fault.
It is my fault. Yeah. But also not really my fault so much as it is hockey's fault because it's the playoffs. It was billed. I'm not even going to lie to you. Yeah, it started at 8:30. I'm not going to lie to you. It was billed. This is literally word for word what they said this game was billed as. The most important game in franchise history.
Oh.
To this point.
True.
So, right? So it's like, okay, do I postpone a day or do I watch the most important game in franchise history? So anyway, all good. No one's upset about it.
No.
Because friend of the show, a longtime supporter, Ray Mills,
right? Yeah.
Was telling us how it's actually great because they didn't get a chance to watch it till yesterday.
Yeah, he didn't get a chance to watch Andor until yesterday. So there we go. Just for you, Ray. We were thinking of you.
Yeah, and Patreon supporter as well. So
yeah.
It also, it's like, to be fair, we are competing with people who get screeners for the show, so they can be prepared.
So wait, they get to
they get to watch it before,
mm-hmm.
right? So they can post stuff way before, and these are professionals; they literally are paid to do this.
Well,
so
yeah, it's their job.
Hard to compete against that.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to bring our personal opinions here between buying diapers and
yeah.
And selling software or whatever it is that we do during the day. So
I do more than buy diapers during the day. I have a job.
Yeah. I assume half your job is buying diapers. I don't know. That's what I do when I'm working.
I sell beer for a living, actually.
Yeah.
Far more
Why
interesting.
do you not bring enough beer? Why don't you bring more beer to the show? We should be sponsored by
my brewing
or
company.
at least the beers should be sponsored by them.
The beers are always sponsored by when I do bring them. Yeah,
that's true. Anyway, yeah, so that was yesterday. Jets won, in case anyone's worried. And so there is another game tomorrow, but this show should post either this evening or tomorrow, being Friday. What is it, May? It's gonna be May.
It's May, yeah. It's May 1st.
May 1st. So yeah, I'll hope to post this either Thursday the 1st or Friday the 2nd. So stay tuned for this. We do record this live.
It is Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to post it after the show.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like,
but I might be too tired, so we'll see. It's by the time we're done recording, I am so emotionally exhausted that it's like I just want to go and get high and
at this rate it's going to be 11:30 because we haven't even started yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to be like Bix, just like downing whatever's coming out of that dropper.
Yeah.
The equivalent of that in real life, and watching the equivalent of whatever like trashy TV she was watching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's get into this. Okay, 3 episodes. We're going to do a slightly different format. We're going to cover this episode by episode instead of like character beat by character
they
beat.
jump around a lot.
It was too convoluted this week. And actually part of my like overall thoughts on this is that the show is getting very complex in a good way. I think as a viewer it's very fun to like catch those little connections between the different threads from different storylines.
Yeah.
But it does make it hard to cover because you're dealing with like a lot of different interconnected web of things. So we'll do our best here to like connect the dots as where we can. So season 2 episode 4, Ever Been to Gorman. Season 2 episode 5, I Have Friends Everywhere. Season 2 episode 6, What a Festive Evening. What's your full? Wait, before I should mention, this is last thing.
Okay.
Last plug. This is related to Revenge of the Sith. There was a new Revenge of the Sith what's it called? Poster. 20th anniversary poster. If you look behind it, if you're watching this live, Twitch and YouTube, you'll see the Empire Strikes Back 40th anniversary poster that I have behind me. This is from the same collection, same guy, Matt Ferguson, the artist, created it. So it's for sale as we're on live right now. I don't know how many copies will be made available and for how long. There are 4 different versions. There is a regular and a Japanese, and then there's a variant and a Japanese variant that you can buy, and they're full-size posters. Oh, Winston has some things to say. Anyway,
Some very good boy things.
Yes, he's a good dog, but sometimes he gets upset with what's going on upstairs. And anyway, so I highly encourage people if they like these posters, like jump on it. They come back occasionally from time to time on sale, but like not as often as I like. I literally follow Matt Ferguson on anything I can follow in case they come on sale.
Oh, okay.
Because I need to complete the set. I also have the Empire series. I have Empire, as you said, as I saw behind me. I also have Return of the Jedi, which I think that I got the variant. I think the Japanese one.
Right.
I can't remember now exactly. It's not framed yet, and this one's going to come in the mail in like 2 months, and then I'll leave it in a box for a year until I can get it framed or have more space.
Yeah.
But long story short, highly recommend this artist, this collection of anniversary posters. He vows to complete the set, so he has one for episode 4 and 5, episode 1 and 3.
Okay, so 2
he
and
needs
6.
2 and 6 to complete the set. And then obviously maybe the sequel trilogy, but like no one cares about that right now. So, but yeah, I don't know when, like they didn't do a re-release for Clone Wars 20th anniversary,
right.
Attack of the Clones, 20th anniversary. So I don't know.
25th anniversary, maybe, or is that already past too?
No, I think that would be next on the. But like, and again, same thing for A New Hope. It's like we need. I guess that'll be for the 50th.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Either way, recommend. I'll post the link to the store in the show notes. Again, it might. I don't know how long the sale's going on. It might already be sold out. Word of warning. I did get one. So, okay. So as I mentioned, season 2, episode 4 through 6. Here are the log lines for season 2, episode 4. It's Cassian and Bix adjust to a Luthen safe house. All eyes are on Gorman. Wilmon visits Saw Gerrera. Season 2, episode 5. Cassian on Gorman, Cyril on Coruscant. This is just getting lazier and lazier. Bix failing, Wilmon trapped, and Clea has a serious problem.
Yeah.
And then season 2, episode 6, Vel and Cinta to Gorman, Cassian home to Bix, an argument, a heist, a party, everything at Rick's. Winnie, it's okay, buddy. It's all right. Okay. So, let's start with our overall thoughts. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were. Where are you?
I really liked this arc. It was so fun. I loved the like character play of Cassian, of him getting to like, play this fancy man character. I loved getting to see
Valerian Sky.
Yeah, I know, right? I loved getting to see the soft moments between him and Bix, and I also like to see Bix's kind of turnaround, right? Like her kind of getting a little bit of that like redemption was really nice.
She gets at the very end, but like
I know
most of the episode, she's a wreck.
Yeah, but I mean,
honest.
like it makes sense, right? Like we are seeing her like character development. Like it is a slow build of her like being traumatized multiple times and then kind of getting out of that. Yeah, it's just it's so fun getting to see these like little sparks of rebellion, and then the other areas of the rebellion that are getting kind of insane, like the Saw side of things.
Oh yeah, Saw is like literally insane.
He's nuts, and we've always known he's been nuts.
As he says in this episode, rebellion is not for the sane.
Yeah, but it's like it just feels it was really tense. Everything felt really tense. It felt there was weight to a lot of it, and it was
the
like
heaviness feels like it's like the characters are feeling the weight of the oppressive thumb of the Empire pushing down on them even further.
Yeah,
especially Mon, I feel like is coming more undone all the time.
Yeah.
I saw a really funny meme the other day where it's like, we need to really better understand what happened to Mon Mothma to go from wearing all this really nice stuff to literally not caring at all even what her hair looks like. Because it cuts to like what she looks like in Rogue One, and it's like,
yeah.
And obviously they're like clearly trying to ape what she looked like in A New Hope, and it was a different mindset and all that stuff.
Right.
But it is a big difference, like her with how she carries herself and the hair and all that.
Of course.
Polar Knights has a question for me live. Again, you can join us in the chat and hang out with us. It better be appropriate, Polar Knights. That's the caveat. If it's not appropriate, I won't answer, and that's my prerogative. I'm allowed to.
I think that's fair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Rachel was on time.
I was on time.
I was technically late.
He was. Yeah, he was still making notes when I got here. So
Yeah, but Winston needed to get walked, and last week he didn't because he was with. Yeah. Anyway,
that's fine. If Winston does take precedence over everything. So.
Yeah. So finally, someone understands.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Thanks, Polonaise, for keeping me honest.
Thanks for keeping me in check too.
Yeah. No, that's good. We got it. It's good to have somebody watching over your shoulder like Cyril.
Yeah.
With his little like peons he has on
checking their
on
watch.
Gorman. Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think everything you said is entirely correct. I will say that I feel like less quote unquote happens in this arc that I would have liked because and I say that knowing that the show knowing what the show is, when the show is not about those big moments, though. When you present a format like they presented this year with this 3 hours, it's essentially this movie that we're getting every week, and it's amazing. I truly, I'm just, my jaw is on the floor of how good everything looks.
Yeah.
How elaborate the sets are. The use of again, the writing is just next level. It just feels like we'll never, I know I said this last week, but we'll just never get anything this good again. And it's it's kind of I feel anxiety watching the show thinking we're okay, we only have 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
And and then it's over.
I know.
And then and then Rogue One obviously. But I just feel like I would have liked for more to have happened, because now what happens is I think we are going to see the Gorman massacre.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
In next week's arc, I think. But setting up something that happens a year later feels kind of not that exciting to me.
Right, yeah.
And while I understand that the work that they did in this episode is important, right? Getting to see Andor really be the he's truly a super spy. In this.
Yeah.
By now at 4 BBY. He's already a super spy, and he's so good at reading the situation and reading people, and we get to see that, and that's cool. And there's all these other little interconnected pieces of this web, and we'll talk about all that. And I love the allusions to the French Resistance, and they talk about that in the behind-the-scenes stuff. But I just feel like this is a lot of setup. There is some payoff, but a lot of setup for a show that has a lot of time to give you more payoff in a 3-episode arc than we get here.
Right.
And so that's a little frustrating for me. But on the whole, you just really can't complain, because the performances are still next level good. The there's exploration. There's this great line from Stellan Skarsgård in the behind the scenes video about how it's all about empathy. The rebellion's about empathy.
Right.
And every time one of these actors opens their mouths in this behind the scenes video, or anywhere else in any of the interviews that you see, or any of the breakdowns you listen to, you're always hearing some new perspective, something interesting, some angle you didn't necessarily consider, some piece of humanity that's exposed to the viewer through this show. And sometimes it's I clocked that, but I didn't think it through all the way. And then sometimes I hear it and I'm oh, of course, right?
Yeah.
And that is so special, because that's really what you're looking for from any of these things, to reflect reality, reflect humanity back at you. You talk about movies being empathy machines. There's that to make you feel something, and the best way to make you feel something is to make you relate to something. So it's it all works.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad that it's going by so fast.
Yeah.
On the French Resistance stuff, because we get introduced to Gorman for the first time, and I love what they built this whole square. It's practical, the biggest set you've ever. It's crazy. They built a massive set for the wedding last week on Chandrila, and then they built another massive set for. I guess it sounds like they'll be coming back here more than just that one time or this one time. So that's good at least.
It's just so beautiful.
It's so cool, these northern Italy vibe. They're clearly allusions to Paris here. The Palmo being the capital city, capital P, Palmo, Paris. Right. And then they started talking about in the Screen Crush recap, friend of the show Ryan Airy and his team talking about how the signs had had both a Gorman language and classic Star Wars.
Oh, basic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
Orbish.
Yeah, exactly. And it made me think, oh, you know what? I can bring this one layer deeper. It's like the Quebecois. The Gormans are like those from Quebec because they are, their language is like this. It's really, I can't believe they did this. Also, they created a new language essentially, which is like a variation on French. They use, what do they say, French phonetics?
Phonetics, yeah.
To create a new language, and then or new vocabulary, and it sounds like it's when they're speaking, it's like that is French, but if it was just like
gibberish words. Isn't that what the minions speak?
Gibberish French?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like really sped up, like gibberish French.
Oh, really? I don't know. If that's true, that's funny.
Yeah.
But really, why
sure.
are they so popular? What is it about the minions that makes them
funny?
Okay.
My kid loves them, and he can't even like speak
because
well.
because it's like all slapstick. And,
yeah, they're just like goofy, easy humor, and they have dumb names. It's
Did you know that there's a whole lore about how the minions were like asleep during World War II, which is why they weren't helping Hitler?
Oh my
God. Is that funny?
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. Anyway. I heard that on another podcast, and I was like, "That's like something I need to hold on to." As like,
because they just need to have a way that like they weren't, because they're always trying to find the most evil person to like work for, and they just needed to find a way to avoid Hitler.
How do we avoid Hitler? Oh yeah, no, they were asleep. They were all sleeping.
Hilarious.
Oh my God. Okay, so the Gormans are like the Quebecois. Okay, so think of here's my analogy. Think of Canada as the empire, right?
Okay.
Mostly a monolith, in the sense that it's mostly English speaking everywhere.
Yeah.
And, a centralized government with this like unique piece of, and obviously there's a lot of unique planets, but I'm just like, in this specific case, this is the analogy they're drawing is to the French resistance. So
yeah.
In Quebec, there's English and French signs all over the place. In Paris, it's mostly French signs. You're not going to see a lot of English signs anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So this is this like blending, merging, and because their economies are so intertwined, just like the Quebec economy is intertwined with the Canadian economy, so too is the Gorman economy. Quebec has more than just maple syrup that it can export, whereas apparently Gorman only has the like they're a mono economy with only the threads or whatever. But that's like way too complicated for even Andor to get into. Is the economic impacts of only having one export.
Export, yeah.
So it just, and then like this idea of like holding on to your culture in the face of this like monoculture concept where it's like everything is the empire except for us because we've always been French and we don't want anyone to take that away from us.
Yeah.
Which is like so ingrained in the Quebec culture. Just like it is in the Gorman culture. They have their own like little ways of speaking, their own little traditions, and it's different from everything else, and it makes them easy to other, right? Which is what the Empire is doing to the Gormans with their propaganda. So I think it's a cool little illusion, and it's a little bit. And by the way, there was a little like mini. Remember in the 70s? Actually, neither of us were alive, but in the 70s there was that whole like separatist movement, and there was like bombings and stuff in Quebec. So it's like there's some connections there. All right.
Isn't that still kind of what the Bloc Québécois is?
Yeah, that's their official party policy.
Yeah.
But they know it's not really like tangible, and they can't ever get enough seats for that to matter. So they ultimately become a party that advocates solely for
Quebec.
Quebec, which is like, I just encourage the Albertans to consider maybe they should just start their own party. Like if that's really how they feel, like okay, you don't have to, you just whatever.
Yeah.
Now they want to leave. Good luck with that. Yeah, good luck with that. So apologies to any separatist Albertans out there or Westerners out there, but please don't include Manitoba in your stupid plans. We don't want any part of it. Okay, so let's get into it. So again, this is 4 BBY, and so we've done a year, 5 BBY last week. This is 4 BBY this week. It'll be 3 BBY next week if you're keeping up. One of the things that has been like circulating around the internet is like what's going on at the same time, because we know that other things are happening. So here's a couple of things that were mentioned in the screencast video. Ezra and Kanan fought the Grand Inquisitor in 4 BBY. Okay.
Right.
Leia becomes a junior senator. So we do see her dad, or adopted dad.
Bail. Are we going to see him again?
Yes.
Okay, because I was like, that's insane to bring in a new actor for like that one.
Yeah. So we should explain that. So
interaction.
Jimmy Smits normally plays him.
Yeah.
They couldn't get him due to scheduling conflicts, so they got Benjamin Bratt to do
Mhm.
it, and he looks a lot like him actually.
He does. Yeah. It's hard because he's in Modern Family. He plays Manny's dad
okay.
in Modern Family, so it's like all I see when I see his face.
Okay, I don't see that problem.
Yeah.
So what I can't remember which interview, or I've been watching and listening and taking in a lot of Andor content lately.
Yeah.
So one of the things he's talked about was, let's get Benjamin Bratt into this scene as he has an appearance, so that people can get hey, it's a different actor off their chest,
Right.
and then we can bring him back later to do more work.
Okay.
And like once he's established as
Yeah.
this is
Bail
Organa in this show.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is a bit weird, but at the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. We know the character is the character. You can recast people if you need to.
Yeah.
Tony Gilroy talked about how difficult it is to use legacy characters because scheduling, it requires them to be paid a lot.
Right.
So it's like they get paid full freight for like 1 day of work or whatever, and all this stuff. So he tries to avoid it. And he also talked about, I don't think we talked about this last week, but he talked about how he didn't want to use Vader again because he said, listen, I did that already. It's very limiting. He doesn't have a lot to say.
Yeah. He doesn't have a lot
He doesn't have a lot to say. And he's like, so I've already written Vader once. I prefer not to do it again. And so we're not going to see the Emperor and we're not going to see Vader in this. I feel like not seeing the Emperor is a missed opportunity because Ian McDiarmid's so amazing.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
And it would have been great to have one last confrontation between Mon Mothma and Ian McDiarmid. And maybe they're just lying to us, and maybe we'll get. I'm not going to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's likely we're not going to see him. He's kind of the puppeteer. He's away. We can't see that guy. He's too far above us. So also in 4BBY, Ahsoka appears as Fulcrum. She's outed, or she reveals herself as Fulcrum. And then during the events of this part of the timeline, there's a time jump in Rebels, and that's where this arc takes place. So we don't actually know exactly what's going on with the Rebel crew during these exact moments.
Is that in between like Ahsoka fighting
Season
Vader
2 and 3, I think.
Like when Ezra pulls her out of the...
That's right.
Yeah.
Vader was fighting Ahsoka during the... Actually, no, that's not true. During the Season 2 premiere arc last year.
Season 2 premiere. Right.
So last week's arc in 5BBY is when Ahsoka fights Vader.
Right.
And so that's part of the reason Vader is not active during this stuff, is that he's out hunting Jedi.
Yeah, he's hunting. Yeah. He's busy.
He's always busy doing something.
Yeah.
Your hokey religion won't save you this time, Vader.
But that means Thrawn's around.
Yeah, I guess.
Right?
I don't think we're going to see Thrawn either. Also, missed opportunity because, like, again, bringing those characters in. But that's something that, like, I think Star Wars would normally do, but that's not something that Tony Gilroy is interested in doing.
Yeah,
and it's like, you got to respect the dedication to, no. We're just telling this story. These are the characters. We already established them. I'm not going to use other characters. It doesn't, like, he's literally using his own characters. He brought in Orson Krennic back, right? And all that stuff. So,
yeah.
All right. So, Episode 4. Ever been to Gorman? Cassian and Bix are now living at one of Luthen's safe houses on Coruscant. Their relationship has grown a lot closer. There's this great moment where she says she regrets moments that they weren't together, which is a nice thing to say. But she does it when she's like having a little like angry moment, so it kind of like loses a little bit of its like its touching level. Bix is still struggling with PTSD pretty bad. Worse now because she's sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Carrying a gun. Not a good combination.
Yeah.
Although it would have been worse if she was on Narkina 5 because she would have zapped herself.
Yeah. Definitely worse though, yeah.
Like, why couldn't they just be like a door to
the cells?
To the cells.
Too much money.
Yeah, we got to say.
Rather zap.
They're like, we can save 500 million credits by not putting doors on these cells.
Yeah.
Great.
And
Done.
It's worse for them.
Right. And if we put the water pipe behind this one panel instead of somewhere else, another 500 million. Yeah. Big mistake on their part. Anyway, she's still having PTSD. She's specifically still thinking about Dr. Gorst. We get another Dr. Gorst dream at the beginning of this.
Yeah.
Got to respect them committing to the Dr. Gorst stuff to pay it off at the end of this week.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So yeah, what's fun about this? Oh yeah, fun isn't maybe the right word. Actually, speaking of fun, we should rewind back to last week. There was a lot of debate about the like, quote unquote, if Star Wars needed to have a sexual assault scene in the nature that we saw last week, but and maybe we didn't like if we didn't give it the right like level of weight. It is important to say like, yeah, we talked about how it's novel for Star Wars to have a rape scene, but or attempted rape at least. But to me it fits the tone of the show, so it doesn't seem out of place to me.
No, it doesn't seem out of place to me, and I think that is important because that's probably happening all over the place in the Empire.
Probably.
And that's like a valid thing, and that is a thing that happens in like times of like war and times of conflict and times of like power takeovers.
That's Tony
right?
Gilroy's perspective. Let me play devil's advocate, or like shitty Star Wars devil's advocate for a minute, and say that like, well, that might be true, but Star Wars isn't usually about showing us that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that it has historically been for kids. This show is not for kids, though.
No, Andor is not for kids.
So I guess the argument would be like, it's just weird to take this world that we've established for children, quote unquote. I mean, and that is weird because it's like, it's wars is in the title of it.
Yeah, it's about war and like Anakin kills kids.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
One of the movies.
I mean,
like
but we don't see it.
Yeah, but there isn't an actual like.
There is also not an actual rape.
Yeah, it's like an attempt or like whatever. It's
right, but it's like
but yeah, it'd be Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's weight to that, and there's weight to that in a way that like people can relate to how scary that is, and people can relate to like how fucked up that is.
Right, and
and it's just making the Empire look more evil, which is we're always trying to show how evil they are, right? And it's another level of that like power dynamic and the corruption and like all the like shittiness that they're doing. And
you want to know the craziest argument I saw online?
Yeah,
was that I think it might have even been our friend Star Wars Theory himself who might have perpetrated spread this around, but it was like that. It's so I can't even say it out loud. It's so stupid. The argument was basically, oh well, if Imperial leadership was aware, they would never condone that behavior. Like, as if that would excuse, like, it's like, oh, well, the Empire is bad, but it's not that bad because Vader would never excuse that behavior or whatever. But
they wouldn't care.
They wouldn't care.
They would not care.
They do not care because, again, we talk about the shows about humanity. They don't care about humanity.
They don't care. They will murder children and it massacres an entire planet. So, like, they vaporized a whole planet. And you think they're not, like, that's something that they'll be like, oh, like, don't do that, though. Like, I'm just going to blow up this entire, civilization and planet. See you later,
right, but that's coming from the highest levels. What he's saying is, I guess what they're arguing is that, like, if Tarkin was like, hey, my soldier under my command did this bad thing, maybe they would be court-martialed. But it's like, I don't know. Like, is that even, like, why even bring that up? Like, why is that even a relevant thing to mention? I think it's crazy to say that.
That is
for
crazy.
The record. So
it's crazy to think that the Empire would care. Yeah, that's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, because, like, again, it's like maybe they draw the line there. That's where they draw the line.
Mm-hmm.
The murdering and the pillaging is fine. But that one next level, that's too much. Come on, it's ridiculous. Anyway, I think the lesson from last week is that this show is not for kids.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think there was like a trigger warning thing at the beginning of last week's episode. Anyway, so again, just pay attention to those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people let their kids watch all sorts of Star Wars stuff. Just,
people let their kids watch Deadpool. So
that's I mean,
yeah.
Would you rather your kids see attempted rape or gratuitous violence and swearing? I guess, like, that's the question. That's for each parent to decide what they think is right. And, like, maybe when they're older, it's like it's handled in a mature way that, like, you can have a conversation about, like, this is a good example of, like, why this is crazy and you should never act that way.
Yeah.
Because it's not played as like a jaunty thing.
No,
right?
It's a weighted, heavy, like, terrible thing, right? It's not played off lightly. It's so
and, like, other stuff has been played off lightly in Star Wars in the past, but, like, like, for instance, Anakin murdering just the women, but the children too. And obviously that's not a joke. They're not like playing it as a joke, but like that's much more serious than like those movies. Like they just certainly Padme is not willing to engage with any of that conversation.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all to say that there was a discourse about that. We should wanted to mention it. I think we agree that it fits into what this show is.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't fit into A New Hope, but it fits into what this show is.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so back to where we were. Cassian and Bix. Cassian's being very protective of Bix because she's like not doing well.
Yeah.
Anyway, this dream that Bix has of Dr. Gorse is interesting, is what I was talking about earlier, because she's having a dream about an Imperial soldier being tortured at the hands of Dr. Gorst. But later we learn that Imperial soldier is a soldier that Cassian killed because he saw Bix's face.
Yeah.
And this is like a sticking point that like is a friction point for them for the entire episode, basically, or the three over the arc, because she is trying to live this quote unquote normal life, or would like to try to live some semblance of a quote unquote normal life.
Right.
But Cassian is like, that's not available to us. Like we can't, and really trying to hammer home that we are at war. He even says it's like, we're at war. Not everyone might not know that yet, but we are, and we have to act accordingly. Right. So the part of her arc is her becoming a soldier again, as we see at the end of the series of this arc. And her coming to terms with like that whole thing. I love the line where she says, if I'm giving up everything, I want to win.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's such a great, simple way to boil it all down into like, what do you believe in? And if you truly believe in it, like, what are you willing to give up? And like, what are the stakes? And, you get like a microcosm of this, I think, in like when you're engaged in politics, but, this is life or death, right? So she understands it's like, if they don't win, her life is over anyway.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. It's interesting. It's really good. Any thoughts on Bix and Cassian?
No, I mean, it's definitely, like, it's compelling, right? Because I think she feels guilty that this young kid soldier had to die just because he saw her face, and it's to protect her, and she feels like, well, that wasn't for the rebellion, that was to protect me, and that's different. So,
but he's saying it's not different.
He's saying it's not. He's like, no, it's the same, right? But I think
because we're both soldiers of the rebellion, and risking you is risking the rebellion.
Yeah,
so therefore, I mean, it's a bit of a like circular argument, but it's not necessarily wrong.
No,
it's just like it is convenient, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah, but it is those kind of like struggles in morality for her of like, was that for the rebellion or was that just to like keep me safe? And,
right.
like, she feels if it's for the rebellion, it's warranted, but if it's just to protect her, it's not.
Well, does she not feel like she's a part of the rebellion? I guess that's the question.
I think she does, but I think it's more of like that in the long run, she didn't think it had a relevant thing to the rebellion. Like, she was like, that was just personal. Like, that wasn't, the long game kind of thing. Like, he didn't matter in the long game. Like, if he hadn't seen my face, you wouldn't have killed him, sort of thing, right? So I think it's just like her struggle with what
guilt
is right and what is wrong in this war and in this kind of battle, right?
The struggle of right and wrong in this show is like half the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what, if... For Luthen, for example, he's dealing in like a lot higher stakes than Bix. She's like one person's life.
Yeah.
Is that worth it? Is my life worth more than this person's life? Whereas like Luthen is like, is the rebellion worth more than Gorman?
Right.
And the answer to him is yeah. There's like that equation, all like X is never greater than the rebellion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So even his own life.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think, like, and again, this is like a core concept of the show, but everyone has their own rebellion, right? And so for Bix, she's been abused. She has been a victim of violence by the Empire. It's directly affected her life. And even in spite of that, she still questions whether or not it's right or wrong to inflict violence against the state. Even if that's okay, it's one soldier.
Yeah.
But is he not working? Is he not an
Yeah.
imperial? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and again, that's a question that every rebel would have to ask themselves, right? Where's the line?
Where's the line? Yeah. And I think they all have obviously different opinions of that to a point, and that's where a lot of that probably conflict does happen, right? Like Saw's line is nowhere to be seen.
There's no law. There's no line.
And we see him and we're like, whoa, he needs to like take several
steps back. Mothma also had like a crisis of conscience, right? Where how nice for you, last week's line, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Of like she's willing to like fight in the Senate, but maybe that's ineffective. And like as you're doing that, how many people are being killed?
Right.
So like, are you responsible for those lives? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As I asked last week, and may one day come back to bite me, would you throw a pipe bomb? It's like that's the like you know what I mean? Like that's the
depends,
right?
Guess.
It really of course it depends.
Probably not, but yeah.
Would you transport the pipe bomb so someone else could throw it? Would you feel just as guilty?
Maybe.
Right. See, that's like
again, like it's what are the stakes? Like I would definitely throw a pipe bomb to save my kid, but I wouldn't throw a pipe bomb just to start a riot.
well, I don't think that was what Wilmon was doing.
No.
To be clear, he wasn't just starting a riot. He was, he was getting revenge. But it's whatever.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
It's a complex question. So anyway, Andor doesn't want to take Bix on any missions right now. She's being very protective. Meanwhile, with Monma, Senator Mon Mothma, what did I say? Call her Monma?
Monma.
That's never mind. With Senator Mothma, she's working the Senate. I love this. Loved this sequence. This like intercutting of her trying to like work with the senators.
Yeah.
Tried to gin up support for a bill to help the Gorman, but like in this, she's trying to like repeal the PORD, the Public Order Resentencing Directive, which we saw in season 1, which is what sentenced like a minor offense to 6 years in prison.
Yeah.
Right.
How Cassian ended up.
Yeah, at Marquina 5.
Yeah.
And I love how they're like referencing and questioning the crime stats that they're being provided by the Empire. It's like, we can't trust any of this data, and even if you can trust it, it's painting a picture that like doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Right. So and it like I like how that also, speaking of that connected web ties in with the like ISB, everything the ISB is doing. Right. So it's like everything kind of touches everything else. So we also see some of the anti-Gorman propaganda starting to take effect, which is also fun. And then she even meets with the senator of Gorman, and even he is reluctant to support her because it would draw even more attention to him.
Right. And
they feel like they can't afford that. Right. So there's this culture of fear that even within the Senate that that is being created. We're seeing, episode 4 starts with that great line about how the Emperor has dissolved the Senate.
Yeah.
And we know that, Mon Mothma, who believed truly of anyone believed in democracy, right?
Yeah.
That the Senate chambers was like a temple of like the people's house, all that stuff. And she even lost faith in it and its ability to actually be anything more than just a collection of puppets for
well, and I think
Emperor.
that's what they're kind of showing us too, is like they're showing us like how she's slowly like getting more disillusioned with the Senate, right? Just being like, fuck, like I can't even.
And hairstyles.
Yeah. There's no point in me, not that there's no point, but she's like trying to like help things. She's trying to do what she can, and she's just like, no one is on her side. No one's listening. No. Like no one wants to bother.
Well, they don't want to. They don't want attention because attention brings more imperial scrutiny, and that more imperial scrutiny means who knows what. Because you never know what you're going to do. The next second you might be breaking the law. And you don't even know what you've done wrong.
Yeah, it's like she's trying to fight the good fight from the inside, but it's just like not working.
You can't fight the machine from inside the machine.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I think this has been proven over and over and over again. It does not work.
Yeah.
Anyway, good luck.
Not when the Jedi aren't there to back you anymore.
What do you mean? The Jedi were trying to overthrow the Senate.
Yeah. I know.
Didn't you know?
Yeah.
There's a great okay, so Revenge of the Sith, there's this line where Padme is like right before the great this is how liberty dies moment.
Right.
It's so weird because she says that at the same scene where she's like sitting there and she's like intently listening to Palpatine, and he's like comes in, someone's coming in, I can't remember who it is, and it's like, oh, the Chancellor is just expanding on the Jedi plot to overthrow the Senate. Like she's like so involved in like, wow, can't believe that that's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But like she's willing to buy into that, and then she's also at the next time she's like, oh wow, look at him use that to overturn the. It's like there's the characterization, especially for Padme, is like all over the fucking place in the entire prequels trilogy. It's wild. Anyway, over on Gorman, we catch up with Cyril, who's working at the Bureau of Standards field office on the planet. He's actually secretly working undercover for the ISB, but I did like how it's not entirely clear that that's what's happening.
Right, yeah.
At first, and he does actually do a pretty good job of kind of like blending in and like coming across as like sympathetic
he
to
does.
the Gormans.
Yeah.
He's like it's like actually when he wants to be a decent boss, even if he's just acting at it, he can actually be not bad at it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so his mom. Oh God, his mom is so funny. His mom sees him as like sees this as a demotion. This is where we see the propaganda coming into effect.
Yeah.
But again, we learn pretty quickly that he is actually basically putting on a front to like attract the attention of the Gorman rebels.
The rebels, yeah.
Yeah.
He knows they're listening. Like.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty fun, kind of like what's it called? Like you got like spy versus spy stuff going on here.
Yeah, yes.
And so you've got the ISB listening while the rebels listen, and then also you have the rebels listening to the ISB listening. So it's like this whole like Ouroboros situation going on of false narratives and false information, and like who you can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of like uncertainty, which is fun for the show. You should announce that there was a new dog alien species present in the show.
A new one?
Yeah. A full-size dog wasn't like one of the ones we saw in Ferrex or anything we've seen before. So that's cool. And unfortunately, no B2 appearance. No. And I'm starting to worry we may never see him again.
Yeah, I don't know.
Any thoughts on Cyril or any of the stuff that we talked about with Senator Mothma?
No, I don't think so. I did, like I said, or like you said, I did like watching Cyril do his little dance, right? Like, it's like he's pretty competent here, and he's not being like super crazy cop mode, right? Like we've kind of seen him doing in the past. Like this feels like he's kind of in his element.
He can't afford to be. He has to like tamper down.
But it very much does feel like he's in his element, and yeah, it's interesting too. Like of course his mom would fall for like the Gorman
100%
propaganda. Like, it's like
they've always
been
too
worst.
good for us. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
you've never thought that before.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But it's also fun for he gets a chance to be like he knows it's propaganda.
Yes,
and then he gets to like call her on being an idiot. Which is like a fun thing that he gets to do that he probably wouldn't really get to do with his mom.
Yeah, exactly. So,
anyway, there's more protests against the Empire. They're a pretty common sight now on Gorman. Cyril has a clandestine call with Dedra where he has to sneak back into his office at night. And this is where we get a scene of the Imperials watching a pod race.
Yeah.
So we got pod racing here, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's so good.
So cool. Anyway, he basically tells Dedra that the Gorman front has finally reached out to him.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets like a message to go to attend a town hall, and where they kind of connect with him there.
Mm-hmm.
Coruscant, Dedra, her assistant, so at the ISB, her assistant's been promoted. So it's been a year since the last time we saw him, and he is a full-time lieutenant. He's actually the same rank as Dedra now, as lieutenant. And has been given the Axis assignment, despite Dedra kind of like pining for her old desk. She like really wants, she still wants to like clear her name on that one. Lonnie is still working undercover, and he's kind of, I feel like he's kind of stiffened up his upper lip a little bit. Like, get over yourself, Lonnie. This is important. So, because like imagine if you lose Lonnie, if you're Luthen, like he's Lonnie's the most important asset they have.
Oh yeah,
and like
he's like feeding them all the information.
They would be completely in the dark.
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
or not maybe completely, but like probably very in the dark. And like
Lonnie's in the inner circle at this point.
Exactly.
It's wild.
You're not going to get better intel than this. And in fact, them giving up Gorst might be something that like outs Lonnie. So we got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's true.
That could come back to him. Or it could back to what's the guy? It's his assistant, Dedra's assistant's name.
Hurt. Yeah.
Hirt? Yeah. It could come back to him. Maybe he uses him as a fall man. Anyway, there's a lot of these possibilities. Like anyone could be like sacrificed basically at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I love the scene with Lonnie in their little ISB conference room.
Yeah.
And they're basically saying how they've got all these people in custody, but they don't have any real information to work off of. And he's like, we're arresting too many people.
Yeah.
We can't process all these people. It's too much information, and we're getting like information overload. We can't see the forest through the trees. And Partagaz is a great character because he's a real piece of shit, but he's like a really competent piece of shit.
Yeah.
And he's really smart. So watching him being like, you know what? That's actually a great point.
Yeah, and like not doing like the typical Imperial thing where it's just like do your fucking job.
Right, exactly.
Like usually they would just like Vader would just choke Lonnie out and kill him and be like, well, somebody else do that job then if it's too much for you.
Right, the guy standing behind you. You're now in charge.
Yeah. But Partagaz is actually like, yeah, this is what this is for. You're supposed to like tell me what's wrong and not be scared to tell me what isn't working. Right. So
yeah, because a well-functioning organization has transparency and is willing to hear varying arguments, whereas the Empire is not that type of organization.
No,
and they're not well run.
Usually not, but it does feel like the ISB
is like the exception to the rule.
Functions a little bit better.
Yeah,
right. So,
and that's why they wear white, because they want to feel like they're better than everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Lonnie points out that they can't handle all this, and then we get a reference to Palpatine. Partagaz is going to meet with the Emperor, and they're going to talk about. I love how he brings up the problem as we're arresting too many people, and the solution isn't arrest less people. It's how do we find a way to process more people more quickly? Yeah.
Yeah, it's taking too long. Like, there's too many of them. It's like, oh, well, I guess we need to hire more people for processing.
Exactly. So it's been, and then we get obviously the Lonnie is working undercover at the ISB, kind of mirroring what's going on in Gorman. So that's a fun little thing there too. And then again, of course, Lonnie, being the spy that he is, leverages that little win he gets to like probe information from Hirt. Right. From Lieutenant Hirt.
Yeah.
So Luthen, meanwhile, learns from Lonnie that Dedra is assigned to Gorman. I assume he learns this from Hirt. And this incites him to task Andor with getting a better sense of what's going on Gorman. It's like, okay, the ISB is like focusing in on them. Why? We need to learn what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
And so there's a reference to Luthen's never met any of the Gorman front. There was a time when a rebel pilot landed on Gorman, and he tried to help. But they've only communicated over radio.
Right.
It's also a cool touch that the way that he reaches out to connect with Andor is like a flashing light on the top of a building.
Like it's like
no one would, how would anyone ever connect that? You would know it's completely,
it's like a bat signal, but less obvious.
Yeah, it's a perfect like spycraft situation.
Yeah,
that's cool. So, and then we jump over to Dakar. Actually, before any thoughts on Luthen or anything else going on in Coruscant with the ISB?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay. Keep up the pace then. We go over to Dakar, and you might recognize this planet as being the same planet as the Resistance base in Force Awakens, and is destroyed at the very beginning of The Last Jedi. It's the base they're packing up at the beginning of Last Jedi when Leia's real-world daughter, playing a character in that movie, with her little mini buns.
Oh, okay.
She's like, she gives that great punch it line when she gives when they're like taking off from the base.
As
it's being like, as the Imperials like pop in over. It's that bombing scene. Say what you will about gravity and yada yada yada, whatever. That bombing sequence at the beginning of Last Jedi is thrilling. And it starts right with that punch it moment
Right.
from Leia's daughter. It's not actually Leia's daughter. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
She's got a cool name. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Anywho, it's just a cool connection to like the sequels and ties all those things together. They're at the same base. It's grassy hills, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where Saw and his partisans are hanging out, doing their work. We get to see Two Tubes as per usual. We always get to see Two Tubes whenever we're about to get introduced to Saw. Two Tubes has to make the introduction.
Mm-hmm. We've been starting to call my kid Two Tubes because he had to get tubes put in his ears.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, poor Tubes.
Yeah, Two Tubes. Yeah.
So that's really funny. So what we find out is because we're like, hey, where's Wilmon? He's not living with the other two.
Right.
He's on his own mission, and he is providing a like fuel line tap technology to steal rhydonium from a fuel pipeline on some Imperial-owned planet.
Base, yeah.
So really cool stuff. Hard to parse. I feel like it took me a while. I had to read some stuff. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about half the time?
Adam said the same thing to me. He's like, what does that do? And he's like, what is that thing? And I was like, I'm like, I think it's like a way, because I had to think about what rhydonium was and look it up also. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, they're trying to like steal fuel. So it's like, there's a certain system of tubes. So it's like cracking a safe, right?
Yeah,
and there's like a certain way to do it. And if you fuck it up, it explodes because it's fuel.
And there's like, 8 different types of...
there's a bunch of different types of like whatever, like contraptions that the fuel can be in and the systems that it's on, I guess. So they have to have these like certain ways to like crack into it.
Right.
But
so this is from Wikipedia. Rhydonium, also known as Rhydo for short, was a volatile starship fuel, highly explosive. It was dangerous to salvage, and its fumes were harmful to human health. It could be found on Abafar, Kimiji, Morak, Sarkor, and Triagaria.
So it's like all Star Wars fuel. Like coaxium's the same way. It's like also super volatile.
I mean, what fuel do you know of that's not super volatile?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Gasoline's explosive. It has more explosive power per ounce than anything in the world, as far as obviously there's like of that type of fuel. Obviously things like atomic energy.
Yeah, I was like,
but yeah, it's crazy. But like, yeah, like, okay, you want to have, gasoline. We don't have gasoline cars. We're going to have hydrogen's fuel cell. Hydrogen also is highly explosive. So it's like, whatever. It's not that, the cool part here is this like, and I don't remember if this was a part of, because I feel like we last saw Rhydonium at that like work camp that in Bad Batch, where they pick up that old Imperial officer.
I don't know.
I think that's where. But again, I think one of the things, and they're always wearing masks when they're working with it, and that's cool.
Because like the fumes are bad for you.
Yeah, but
I just saw is so nuts.
Oh my god, he's a true psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, and also maybe it's the Rhydonium that's fucked him up. You know.
I think a lot of things have fucked him up, but that definitely doesn't help when you're basically huffing gas.
Yeah. But like, you ever get a good whiff of gas and you're like, it doesn't smell that bad.
Yeah.
Or like when you smell
bad.
like a permanent marker or something, you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Like one of those. It's like,
or when
it actually is.
It
is bad for you. But like your brain has like these receptors that are like triggered. It's like, oh, that's a nice smell, even though you know.
Yeah.
That it's bad. It's like your
you?
brain is like, no, it's good, and you're like, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But your brain's like, oh, you sure?
Yeah.
So like, I think that's kind of what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. It's like antifreeze being sweet. It makes no sense.
Is it sweet?
Yeah, that's why it's really bad because dogs will drink it.
Winston, don't eat antifreeze. He's ripped apart his toy, so there's that. Okay, so Wilmon is upset because he's like, okay, I've delivered this stuff to you. My job here is done. And so I was like, nice try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
We're actually keeping you until we're done, until we're done needing you. And his original plan was to kill Wilmon.
Yeah, which is wild, because you would assume that Luthen sent Wilmon there.
Yeah, right into the clutches of the craziest people he knows.
Yeah, and it's just like, Saw's just like, yeah, he's seen too much, so we're just going to off him. It's like, but don't you know that he's Luthen's guy?
Yeah.
But maybe that's why, maybe he doesn't know he's Luthen's, because
He definitely knows he's Luthen.
Does he? Because I feel like Wilmot won't tell him where he learned anything, so he doesn't really know where he came from.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have to tell him where he learned. He probably learned that stuff from his dad, not from Luthen. Luthen doesn't know how to crack a rhino.
But yeah, it's just like it feels odd that like Saw would just kill off one of Luthen's.
It's not because he's crazy,
dudes, but
he killed off the other guy.
Yeah, but that guy was a spy.
No, he just said he was a spy.
But maybe
he might have been a spy, but he might not have been.
Oh, I assumed he was.
I think so. It's fair to assume that just because it's like you're living in that space and everything that Saw says goes. But like, I don't think you can take anything he says like seriously, right? Like, he maybe felt like this guy was not learning the thing
like
fast
doing
enough.
it the way he wanted him to.
And it's like, if you're not going to be useful for me, right, exactly, then I'll just keep one of them and then I'll just keep Wilmon.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is like, why wouldn't you just do that to begin with? Like, why aren't you just going to take Wilmon and make him do it? Like, why do you need to train someone to do it when you could just
because you didn't trust Wilmon.
Oh, I see.
Because he doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah, gotcha.
So he's always got a plan and a backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so he does he gives it like a big whiff. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's going to happen. They appear in 2 episodes.
Jumped up ahead.
Yeah, they appear in 2 episodes. So we're going to actually go to episode 5 right now. Because I don't think they appear in the final episode as far as I recall. So episode 5, I have friends everywhere. Okay, and this is, by the way, that is a reference to the name of the title. We haven't really talked about the titles.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like they're all pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
This one is just their like code phrase.
Their code phrase. Yeah. I love a good code phrase.
Isn't it cool as hell?
Yeah.
It makes you want to be a spy.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't think being a spy is actually as fun as it looks.
Yeah. What's the one in Rebels? Like it's a long road to Lothal or something. Or like by the light of the blue moon, or
it's always cool shit like that.
Yeah, it's a long way to Lothal, and it's like they're just standing there like saying that over and over to like everyone who walks by. It like turns out that it's a gonk droid, or is that
gonk.
Maybe that was Bad Batch? That might have been
Gonky himself.
I can't remember. Yeah, can't remember now if that was Bad Batch or Rebels.
There's a sick gonk droid in this episode.
Yeah,
with like a stubby one.
Yeah.
I think in this episode actually, it's episode 5. So yeah. We get a cool change up to the intro. Instead of playing the full theme song, it cuts to like radio chatter.
Right, yeah.
And so we get a reference to Ryloth, who are obviously, funny enough, also French resistance.
Yeah, they're very French.
Yeah.
On Ryloth.
We can't fight the Empire alone.
Yeah.
And Davos Skulden, listening device, is referenced here. And this is like an inciting incident for like the 3rd episode of this of this series, of this arc. And then we see Clea doing her listening on her radio and her little dial thing. It's always like very tactical and
I love that.
Fun.
Like she just has to like tune into like all her different frequencies that come in.
Sick.
It's so
and she's just standing there all day listening to that and then
right?
watching for customers to come in.
Yeah. Well, it's basically like being like an undercover cop when like you have to like listen to like you're trying to bug the mob and you're trying to like you just have to sit there.
If you're
and,
the undercover cop, you're
day.
not the one listening. It's the cops that are listening and they're feeding you the information back. If you're undercover, you're not the one.
That's what I mean. Not undercover. I was like thinking stakeout.
Oh yeah.
You know,
stakeout.
But they have to like sit and listen like all
in a white
day.
van, obviously. Yeah.
In a flower van.
Yeah.
For like all day about just bullshit until you find something useful.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Because it's usually talking about like inane bullshit.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how much bullshit you'd get through
so boring.
Skulden.
I would be so boring. I'd be so fucking bored.
But I also get it why you would want to have a listening device in a gangster's house. You're
well,
like,
they argue about that, about whether it was worth it or not.
Right. Because it was her idea, right? And
I find that the arguments between Luthen and Clea, although exciting to watch, feel a little bit like he's just like blaming her for his own bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? And so anyway, we'll get to that when we get to that part. But so Andor goes to the lower levels of Coruscant. We get to see a cool neon sign like we do at any lower level in Coruscant. This time it's a travel agency. And we get the I Have Friends Everywhere code name. He gets an earpiece that describes his new identity. He's going to be Varian Sky. He's born on Tahina. And he's a fashion designer on a pilgrimage. So all fashion designers go to Gorman because that's where all the finest silks are made.
Yeah.
And they go there and it's like a part of tradition to do so.
Yeah,
So,
it's like being a fashion designer and going to Paris or going to
or
Milan. Yeah, like
by the way,
it's like,
Milan doesn't seem like that cool of a city. It's like
I've been there.
landlocked. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Is it nice?
It was fun. I mean, I was also like in my early 20s, so everything's fun. It was very pretty, and the locals were really nice.
Really, I don't find Italians to be that nice, to be honest.
Oh,
I know that. Sorry,
yeah,
I don't mean to like stereotype, but that's just not been my experience.
The local Italian men that we made friends with were like, I don't know, middle-aged men, and they were very nice to us because we were young girls. So they drove us around and gave us free cappuccinos every day, and yeah, it was nice. It was fun.
Yeah,
sorry,
they're all misogynist. It's crazy.
Privilege.
Again, I'm not stereotyping, but
yeah,
there's
no,
a lot of misogyny.
Kind of boring.
It's
There wasn't
crazy.
really a lot going on there when we were there. So,
yeah, I shouldn't I shouldn't express these like broad. The people,
they
the
were
traditional
very nice
Italians that I have met, there's a lot of ingrained misogyny in that culture. I don't know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm not going to judge.
The old world.
Yep, that's one way of putting it. And yeah, this is all. I mean, all of Gorman's inspired by that stuff, right? So
Mhm.
he talks about later that 19 generations working as a,
Yeah,
twiller,
it's like
twillion.
hundreds of years, centuries, or whatever they say.
What's 19 generations? How long is a generation? 50 years?
I don't know.
If you call it
Sure.
50 years.
Yeah,
So
it's centuries. I feel like they
Yeah,
say
that's
that
long.
that's been going
Yeah,
on there.
exactly.
Yeah. So.
And he says that they're one of the younger ones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh, we're one of the younger wineries in
Yeah. Right. And we're like 200 years old.
on the right on. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like there's actually 1,000-year-old winery next door.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get this cool like he's getting like this distorted voice telling him what his character is going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and Cyril is meanwhile his office is being swept by the ISB. This is of course all orchestrated.
Yeah.
To put on a good show.
I love this. I love this. Yeah.
It's so good because it's like he makes such a good point. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
bugging our own office.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and
yeah.
it's like they're putting up this whole facade about like, oh, like he was tossed aside by the ISB, so he's going to be like the way that the like
Mhm.
underground people think, they're going to think he's particularly like shunned by them. So like, yeah, he's the perfect guy, right? Because he's just like extra pissed that they're still like up at his business, and yeah. But
Yeah,
it's good.
He puts on a great show.
Yeah, he really does. Like he really seems like
He's a
he
natural.
hates the ISB, but maybe
Right.
he does kind of.
Well, I don't
He just
think
wants
so.
to be one of them so
Remember?
badly.
Yeah, exactly. It's no, I don't. I think it is truly all an act.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is that like without Dedra, he could easily be radicalized to be a rebel. I think because if people were giving him like, hey, you're good at this, you can like, yada yada yada. I mean, yes, he's very much like by the book, ingrained in the imperial culture and all that stuff. So it would be hard to break those people.
He's pretty indoctrinated,
Yeah.
but because Adam and I were having this conversation. He's like, "Do you think it would even be possible to see like a turn in Cyril?" And I was like, I'm like, I don't think so. I think he's too deep.
Dedra is more likely. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
that I do. I think she is definitely more likely to turn than Cyril because like he is just so like gung ho, like imperial. I
And
want to
ultimately,
be
I
one.
think
It's, yeah.
both of them die at the hands of the
Probably.
rebels. I think ultimately, probably.
Yeah, it's just like I just can't. I think he's too deep in it. He's too much of a
Yeah, but I think
wannabe.
he's so like okay. So think of it this way: he was like completely dedicated to the cause
Mhm.
as a Morlana corporate
Yeah.
officer, and then he was reluctant to. He believed in justice, whatever, fair
Right.
enough. That can easily be warped, I
Mhm.
think. And then he was then reluctant about his new job at the Bureau of Standards, but then he was completely gung ho about that by the time we catch up to him a year later.
Yeah, yeah.
And now he's being given praise by the ISB,
Yeah.
and he literally says, "This is the greatest day of my life."
Best day of my life. And it's like the minimalist amount of praise.
Right, exactly. Good work, Cyril, he says. And that's all. He's like, "Oh, I think this is the best day of my life." Does
Yeah.
that ruin it? He's like, "Yeah, it does that. It
And
actually
she's
does
just like,
ruin it."
God, yeah.
Yeah. And like,
You're such a wannabe.
right. And so, and like, you respect the like, his enthusiasm, but
yeah.
it's like you could easily see if someone could identify as a figure of authority over him, that person could easily dictate Cyril's direction,
Yeah.
as Dedra already is.
True. I
Right?
just feel like he's such a bootlicker. That
Yeah,
it's
he
like...
is 100%. 100%. He is truly. Hey, can I spit on it and lick it again, sir?
Yeah.
Like that. Like 100%. That is his role here. I'm just saying, like in a different, just like how we like to imagine Star Wars all the time. If someone made a different decision, where would that take you?
Yeah, it would take a lot, is all I'm saying, for him to turn. I
think he believes so much in the like purity of what they're doing.
Yeah, I just mean like he'd have to be very disillusioned. Like he'd have to see something.
But like I don't think it like he was like, oh, I caught all these this cabal of corrupt purchasing agents. He says last week, right? And as we said before, for all we know, those people were just doing their job, funneling shit to the Death Star or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so if you showed like true corruption and like I don't think, for instance, I don't think he would stand by, talking about referencing what we talked about earlier in last week.
Yeah,
he would certainly not be someone who would like stand by and be like, yeah, sexual assault of even of a criminal. I think he would be like, that's too far.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So like,
because he has like a moral compass of like as a soldier and as a person with power, like how you should be conducting yourself.
He thought that his old boss, that like the guy from the very first episode of the series, was like being lax by like not pursuing justice.
Yeah.
Right. So if he understood that there was like a whole culture of like, we let shit go all the time because people are rich or because it serves our needs or whatever, I don't think that would be something that he'd be like, oh, cool, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
But he seems to know that all this propaganda is going on about Gorman. He's fine with it.
I mean, it's possible that he doesn't actually know about the propaganda arm. I think I assumed that earlier, but now it's less clear because she's not allowed to tell him about what's really, quote unquote, really going on.
Yeah.
For all we know, that Dedra said, hey, I have a job for you. You're going to, by the way,
infiltrate the thing. So
my boss, my boyfriend, I know we work as a super secret spy organization.
Yeah, I got a guy.
But I got a guy. He's already made a big mess of things. He saved my life once, so he's got points for that.
Twice, I think, actually.
Yeah, right. So he's got that going. But I want to send him on assignment to work as an undercover spy.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I guess maybe she needed someone she could trust. I don't know.
Yeah. Someone she can manipulate.
But like, come on. You can't bring your boyfriend into the, like, come on. No.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a real Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation.
Yeah.
By the way, did you watch that new Amazon show, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? It is so good. It's nothing like the shitty movie, and it is, it's unreal.
All right.
Speaking of a good-looking show with great actors, it's great. All right, so Cyril swept by the ISB. We also get to see him like dressed up like some of the gore.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing a beret. Yeah. So if the like French connection wasn't obvious enough, he's literally wearing a beret. And it's not even a Star Warsy beret. It's just a beret. They didn't do anything different to it. It's just a beret. I haven't worn a beret since I was in cadets. I find them to be stupid hats. Because they're just dumb. It's like they don't really protect your head in any way.
Yeah, they don't really do anything.
They don't really do anything,
no.
And like you can wear them in all these different ways, but often it's like you're supposed to wear them flat and like it's like. But then they're just dumb. They look stupid to me. I don't listen. I get it's French, whatever, but it's dumb. They're dumb hats. They're up there with the dumb rebel helmets that like stick all the way back to the like 3 feet off the back of their
like
head.
the super
dumb. Those are dumb too.
The sperm helmets.
Yeah. Is that what you call them?
They look like sperms.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So the people, we learn more about what's going on here. So, Cyril goes to the town hall. This is a great sequence, by the way. I love you get to hear finally this Gorman language, this like French variant.
Yeah.
Really fun to listen to them because they hired French actors, so that it sounds very like authentic.
It does, yeah. It's very like Viva la Revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Like but like underground and it's like 100%. The way they clap, like where they tap their chest or their heart.
All the like world building culture stuff is great, and like the swear motion they do where they grab their arm.
Yeah, it's like a salute, but like
it's cool.
Does look like they're just
right, and they have also the like we'll see you again, like
the
show
open,
your heart thing, which is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, so like all that stuff is great. I love the world building. Anyway, they go to this big town hall. So we find out that like one of the main characters here, what's his name? Like Rylax or something like that.
I don't know.
Rylans. and he's like the leader of this Gorman Front, but he's also like a politician and businessman. And they're talking about how the Empire is building a quote unquote annex over the square, where they have the monument to the original Gorman massacre, and they are pissed about that because they said they wouldn't do that. The Empire promised they wouldn't do that, and they're breaking their promise. And they're like, "What's this big building?" And they keep saying they would keep not telling them what's going on.
Right.
And so everyone's like, "We believe it's an armory," and they're like, "We can't jump to conclusions. We can't jump to conclusions." And I love how Andor later is like, "What's the point of this? We're gonna prove something that everyone knows is true already? What's the point?"
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're basically talking amongst themselves as civilians. What's interesting about this so far is that because of the way the Empire is handling this, it's kind of hands off compared to like when the Empire decided they wanted to be in Ferrix, they took over everything. Here, it's still like you don't see stormtroopers anywhere. Right. There's no Imperial like officers, quote unquote. Yeah, there's spies there, but Imperial officers at this town hall. Right. So they're able to talk amongst themselves in a relatively safe space.
Yeah.
Which is very different from what we see in other Imperial controlled things, where this would not be happening out in the open as much.
No.
You know. And again, I don't know how that. I'm not a historian. I don't know how that connects to necessarily like how the Nazis controlled France when they were occupied, and like how much explicit control they had, and like how much people were able to like pretend at playing at resistance versus the actual resistance and stuff like that. So either way, I think if from the Empire's perspective, you want to give them the freedom to hang themselves, right? Give them the rope.
That's the whole point. Is like they're like, oh yeah, we want them to like start their own little rebellion here. Like,
but if that wasn't the plan, how do you think they'd be acting? They'd be cracking down.
Oh, they'd be absolutely. They'd be curfews. There'd be
no protests,
all that kind of thing.
Right,
no large crowds. Like it would all be those regular things that oppressive governments do.
Anyway, there's a bunch of arguing. Doesn't really get anywhere. The front makes their connection with Cyril. They want information. He can provide the best he can provide is like shipping and like documents basically. And he wants transport logs. And later he learns that he says that they need to be accurate when he's talking to the ISB. Again, they can't be false because then it'll give away.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, meanwhile, Luthen checks on Bix. There's this like he like consults with her on like, I know you're using drugs. I know it sounds great, but it's not like
it's gonna make it worse.
All it catches up to be.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit of a connection to the devil's lettuce here because because one of the things that if people who smoke, it's legal here, so no judgments. Is that it can help you sleep. It does affect your REM sleep. You don't get as deep of a sleep, and you often don't dream as much. And then when you stop smoking, you have more intense dreams.
Interesting.
That is a fact.
Huh.
And I can say it's happened to me. In fact, I had a really wild dream 2 nights ago. I'm not even gonna get into it.
Boy dreams.
I had but I why is that a thing?
Yes, it's something that I talk about with my coworkers. We call them boy dreams because it's a very distinct thing that I've noticed with guys, where you guys have these dreams where you're always fighting something, saving something, like you're always heroes.
Okay, but that wasn't necessarily what's going on, but I mean, kind of was.
But they have random like
it's really weird random shit that's going on. Yeah. So in my dream. I randomly run into Pierce Brosnan and his wife.
I was gonna say there's always celebrities.
And by the way,
them.
his wife is dead, so it's like that my brain did not make that connection. And I randomly run into Pierce Brosnan, and then we start talking about James Bond, and then he's like, "Oh no, I have to get across town for this appointment." And I'm like, "Don't worry, I know how we can get there." And then we take a helicopter, and then we jump out of the helicopter and then parachute.
Insane.
Yeah.
It's a boy dream.
It was so fun.
My coworker told me one and he was like, yeah, I saved an entire cruise ship from this disaster, and then I turned around and Kobe Bryant gave me a handshake and that was the end of the dream. I was like, yeah, that's
That's
a boy
amazing.
dream.
Yeah, so yeah, anyways, I'm best friends with Pierce Brosnan now.
So stupid. Yeah.
And that's all thanks to not having smoked that night.
Yeah.
Um,
No, my husband always has dreams about fighting bad guys and has powers and is a Jedi.
well,
and
that's cool. That's way cooler than my
constantly.
dreams.
Yeah.
I've never been a Jedi in my dreams.
Yeah.
I did have a bit of a nightmare last night. I'm not going to get into that, but that was crazy.
But yeah.
So yeah, Luthen checks in on Bix. She's doing drugs. He's worried about her. In the behind the scenes, they talk about how what Luthen's doing here is not as shady as Andor thinks it is.
Right.
He's actually trying to check up on her as a human.
Yeah. I think he gives a shit.
He does, but he is being a little shady still because he doesn't tell Andor that he did that.
It's like, all right, like, how you doing? Like, can I put you on assignment yet? Nope.
Right.
Still crazy? All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Guess
I'll be back next week.
put this on my to-do list on fix this shit.
Right. And so do you think that he intentionally fed the Dr. Gorst information to Bix and Andor as a means of like therapy?
Like as a
it's like, hey,
go do this?
Yeah. I know your
absolutely.
torturer. We know where he is. You can go blow him up.
Yeah, because she's having literal nightmares about this man.
Right.
So I think Luthen is like, all right, maybe this will help the nightmares if she can kill him.
Oh, 100%.
And like they
I
can
think
get
that
rid
would.
of
I
him.
think that would probably help.
Yeah,
the
like she
nightmares.
gets her revenge. She knows he's not still out there. She knows he can't get her because there's obviously this like internalized like fear, and she knows he can't do what he did to her to anybody else.
Yeah.
So that definitely is going to like help her, not necessarily get over it, but like, help her get her feet back and like help her move on with things, being like, hey, this chapter's over. You got your revenge. He's done. He's gone. You don't have to be scared about him anymore. So yeah, I think he's absolutely being like, here you go. He's on a little platter. Like, hopefully this feeds your soul.
Winston's scooting.
Ew, he's wiping his butt on the rug.
I
You
don't
can
care.
just see him.
It's so funny. Yeah, there he goes.
This is why you got to watch us live. So you can
that's
see...
because dogs are like droids, and that is such a classic. That is such a droid thing to do. Man, you're such a good boy, Winston. Don't sniff it though. That's gross.
Well,
Anyway,
disgusting.
what was I saying? I got distracted by Winston.
I was saying that yes, Luthen did that on purpose to help Bix, and like as a way, I think he was like, hopefully this helps. Like this is, I don't really know how to fix this.
Yeah, it's like
here's one way.
It's an olive branch, I think.
Yeah, I think but again, I think he also wants his soldier back. Like
100%.
There's two. It's not just
like,
out of the goodness of his heart, but there is that empathy, right?
How much
like,
was she really a soldier before? Like, was she doing missions while they were working on the wheat planet?
Well, I don't know. I think she was maybe supposed to be,
not.
but because he was her like point of contact on Ferrix.
Yeah,
before,
but like even then, that was like her job was pretty.
It was minimal. Yeah,
small.
But I do think he has, like, he cares about his people in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't like seeing them suffer. And doesn't like seeing them be a liability
right,
either.
he has empathy.
Yeah, because she's also a liability in terms of Cassian, because Cassian's not going to leave her. Cassian can't.
Well, yeah, I think that's the true question. It's like,
Yeah.
if it came down to like picking her or Cassian,
No, he's
he
gonna
would
pick
take
Cassian.
Cassian.
He
And that's why
would.
it's so fucked up.
But I think he's also knows that Cassian will pick her over.
And so he can't
him.
risk it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, she's got to get better because this is...
Right. Because actually, we're going to see how that whole dynamic plays out
Yeah.
with, what's her name? The two lesbians. Yeah.
Val
and Cinta.
and Cinta.
Yeah.
Spin-ins.
And so,
Funny how no one has a problem when they're hot. You negative Nellies
there's
out there.
never has been.
Yeah. Like, oh, where's all the rage about a gay couple now? There is none because they're both good looking. Hate you guys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Not anyone listens to us.
I mean, it's
'cause, you know,
always.
but...
Yeah, it's always bullshit. It's always been bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh. Anyway, anything else to say about Luthen and Bix? I don't think so.
No, I just I did like that he goes and checks in on her, and I kind of like the dynamic part of that story, and yeah,
I mean,
he gives me kind of fatherly vibes with her sometimes, but I don't know how to explain it. It's
more
like
uncle-y vibes in my
yeah, like maybe not fun uncle, but it's like the dad who like weekend dad vibes, but he's
stepdad.
Like, yeah, there you go, stepdad vibes.
The dad
Yeah.
who stepped up.
The dad who stepped up. Yeah, yeah, he does care for her, but he's like, these drugs, probably not good for you.
Probably not good for you.
Yeah.
Well, it also relates to her with like, hey,
I've been there.
I've been there. I did
Yeah,
that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andor arrives on Gorman. He loves gotta love the new look. Hey, were you annoyed when you were like, oh, is there gonna be like, is Cyril and
because
Andor,
they're
because they're gonna
convenient.
be, but then they're conveniently like ships passing in the night situation.
A little bit, because you're kind of thinking like, oh, maybe this is like
That'd be so exciting.
some stuff's gonna trigger. Because obviously, like Cyril's was so insane about Andor. Like he knows what he looks like. He would recognize him immediately. But yeah, it's very convenient that they pass. But does Luthen know that Cyril is there? No. Okay. So it is very convenient.
Because even
Star Wars convenient that they pass,
I don't even know because Cinta and Val are there and.
They don't.
I don't
really
even know
know.
if they even. I don't know if they would recognize Cyril. Probably not.
Probably not. But even because like Andor doesn't get to hear about Cyril outside of like, oh, we have a contact, and he's like, yeah, Imperials love to feed information.
Fake information.
He's doing that thing again. Like I love how we see this multiple times now with Cassian, like shitting on the rebels and other places, being like,
he's the
you
smartest
guys
man in the
suck
room
at this. Like, don't do that again. Like, and just like,
right. You shouldn't tell me that information.
Yeah, don't tell me.
Why
that.
would you tell me that?
Like, and then
I appreciate you telling me, but don't tell me that.
When he reams out that girl too, being like, you don't know me, you don't know who I am.
Right.
Like,
what
she
are you
just
doing
sits down
here?
right away and tries to get to business. He's like, you're rushing. Like,
right.
It's I love the way he puts people in their place a lot of time in the rebellion, like teaching them how to be better at it.
And it's like he is truly the super spy, which is like
right.
And so when you think like, oh, the show is titled Andor, you kind of when there's like scenes like this, you're like, oh, okay, he's really like the best at it.
Yeah.
And like, I guess what we'll see over the course of this show is that like how much him being good at this was crucial for the rebellion at the early stages to get off the ground.
Yeah, definitely.
And was literally responsible for helping Jyn get the Death Star plans.
Yeah.
Which ultimately, that kicks off
everything.
Everything, right?
Yeah,
so
literally everything.
So like without him, there is no rebellion kind of thing. And it's like without Luthen and all those kind of connections, but like he's the boots on the ground guy.
Yes.
He's the one talking to these people. He's the one telling them, "Hey, you're making mistakes. You need to like." And again, so is Clea. She's kind of like up there.
Yes.
She's like also a pretty good spy.
Yeah, she is.
So, yeah, probably better. Honestly,
it is just so fun seeing it, like getting to see the sparks and getting to see like how it all comes to be and like how they're learning. It's very fun to see it, come to fruition.
So we have this really great scene with Andor and the bellhop. I thought this was like one of the secret.
I liked
scenes
this one.
Yeah. So we find out that the bellhop, his father was killed by Tarkin.
Oh, yeah, so sad.
So actually, let me back up. We learn that the event on Gorman where Tarkin landed his ship on protesters has already happened.
Yeah.
So in Legends, that is considered the Gorman massacre.
Okay.
He lands his ship on protesters, and that's the Gorman massacre, which in and of itself is pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that in Legends is 2 years after the formation of the Empire.
Okay. Yeah.
2 years. It's confusing because they're kind of fixing things and realigning things, but apparently this happened about 13 years ago. So about 2 years after the formation of the Empire. So they're kind of like validating that piece of it, but they're saying, whoa, what if there's more? Because like we hear in Rebels when Mon Mothma makes her big speech and she blames the Emperor himself specifically. She specifically calls out the Emperor for attacking the people of Gorman.
Yeah.
And we all assume that was the Tarkin thing.
Right.
But that's not. They're kind of retconning it and saying that it was like, that happened already, 13 years ago, and it was very unfortunate and shitty, and who knows what kind of story they weave to kind of walk their way out of that.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see a new version of that.
Yes, a worse version.
A worse version of that. A new massacre. That, I mean, who knows how big it'll be. They reference 80,000 people on the planet, right? So how, what are we dealing with here? So they're setting up this new thing that will ultimately set up that speech from Mon Mothma, which will ultimately set up the motions that the rebels go through in Rebels, and like so. There's like the dominoes are kind of being placed into position here, and then I think next week we'll see them all knocked over.
Yeah.
And then so that's really fun as like that piece of lore building. So yeah, we find out that this bellhop, his father was killed by Tarkin in that event, and then he took the job at the hotel so he could be close to the monument.
Yeah.
Which is like really wild. But like 13 years ago, he's still a bellhop.
Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this?
No, it was just I really liked that scene. I thought it was a very, I don't know, like a very interesting kind of conversation to have.
Yeah,
it's like between like it's like and Andor is like he's
probing.
good at that, right? Like he's good at chatting with really high up people when he needs to be, but he's also really good at chatting with like
the
a
regular
common
Joe
person too, like a regular person to get this kind of info that he actually really like needs and is important, right? And I mean, yeah, it's obviously to like feed us information too, but it's I just found that scene like so the way he has to like act about it too, like he has to kind of act like this fancy pants, like I just like what did he say? Like I just like.
I don't remember.
I just like or I like probing for information, or I just like
I just like learning more stuff.
Yeah, something like that. It's
Yeah, I mean, this is him being a spy.
Yeah,
he's learning about what's going on. He's assessing the situation. What position are the Gormans in that makes them want to behave in the way that they're behaving?
Yeah,
they had this scar as a society that is like influencing their decision making now.
Yeah,
they were already a subject of essentially an attack by the Imperials, and now they're being kind of boxed in. And what do you do? Like, how do people of that type react?
Right.
And like they have their own unique culture, so it might change the way that they behave. Just like again, kind of like how the like on Ryloth, they have their own culture, and that influences the way that they behave in a post-Imperial era.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also important for him in this little retcon mission that he's doing to find out, like, okay, how are the higher up people acting on this planet, and how are the regular folks like reacting on this planet? Like, he kind of needs to know both sides, right? So,
and it's like a really like humanizing moment, right? We talk about this show being about humans, people, right, and like humanity, and this is a person who's like deeply scarred.
Yes.
Who's working a shitty job because it allows him to be close to the place that his dad was killed. Like that's really depressing. So show's not for kids, folks. And also, again, I'll just say it's nice to hear them do this like world building, but it's like cool to hear them talk about this thing that was in Legends and that we had assumed was this other thing, but it's like we learn, okay, they're doing it differently, but there's more to it than that. But them talking about Tarkin, specifically naming him and all that stuff is cool, right? He's already a Grand Moff at this point, but I think when he did that, he was just a Moff.
Right,
so. Cyril travels to Coruscant, just missing Andor. He comes home, and he's only there for an hour. And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Don't worry, turn off the lights."
Yeah.
And so that happened.
I love how it's also just like pitch black too, like not even like ambient lighting.
Oh yeah.
Just
put a bag over your head.
So dark. Yeah.
I don't even want to imagine what their sex is like. It's kind of like it must be like very regimented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We do this and then we do this and then we do this and then it's over.
I feel like she bosses him around a lot.
100%. 100%. She definitely wears the pants.
Yeah. Like you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Actually.
Speaking of misogyny, she wears the pants is definitely misogynist. Whatever. So there's this bit where she had him followed because she's kind of like his employee also.
Yeah.
So this is like really fucked up on lots of levels, right? They are both psychologically damaged people.
Yes.
And then they are inflicting more psychological damage by creating these power dynamics within the relationship and over the relationship. It's so fucked. So like you can't bring your boyfriend in to be a spy and then you can't and then use that power you wield over them to like it's messed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, they meet with Partagaz, where I mentioned earlier where he says the greatest day of his life.
Greatest day of his life, yeah.
And all I thought of again was like it's an assignment. Calibrate your enthusiasm.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Excellent work is all he said. At least he saves it for when he's out of the room, right? He's like And I like that read because it's so genuine. He's like,
right.
genuinely wants to know.
Yeah.
Am I ruining the moment if I
Yeah.
say this? And it's
Like, are you
like
gonna
he's
be
just
pissed?
rolling his eyes.
Yeah, she's like,
Oh man,
yeah.
that's funny.
She's like, you're such a bootlicker. Like, even she's just like,
Yeah, like, come on, have some self-respect.
yeah.
That's what I say to my dog when he eats stuff off the ground.
Gross.
It's like, have some self-respect, buddy. Who knows how long that's been
I'm
there.
gonna start using that for my kid. He's trying to eat rocks today. I was like, fuck.
Yeah,
like,
have
why?
some self-respect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else do we see? Oh, we also see some Imperial TV. We talked about this last week. It's just like the Hunger Games. Like,
yeah,
there's
right.
stupid, like there's stupid things that they wear. And,
Yeah,
like,
it's all like
all.
over the top, but it is kind of fun to see, like,
it's like their ET
TV.
Weekly or whatever.
Yeah, right. Like their gossip and like the sports that they watch, right? Like with the guys watching the pod racing.
Pod racing.
Like that is a very like relatable thing to be like, oh, like what are people watching on TV? I never would have thought to ask that about Star Wars. Like what do people use for entertainment on TV?
I love that. Like I love to see that, like in those connections. Like, yeah, of course people would be watching pod racing. It's so exciting.
Right? Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think there's a wide swath of people who are like, I don't give a shit about any of that. I don't care
fair.
I don't care what people eat in Star Wars. I don't care where they source their melons or their wheat.
Yeah.
I don't care about what their TV's like. I just want to see people with blasters and lightsabers and whatever. And it's like, okay, fair enough. That's fine. This show is not for you. But
yeah, I think it's fun with those extra details. Like, and
I agree.
I don't know. It's fun to have them, and it's fun to like appreciate the extra work.
Oh my god,
goes into
there's
it,
so
right?
the people that made this show worked day and night.
Yeah.
To create the props and build the world and like
right.
Yeah.
Like you fully hired these actors and wrote a script for them to play a fake TV gossip show in Star Wars, and that's so fun.
Right,
like,
and who knows? People probably got paid like $5,000 for that.
Yeah, like that's awesome.
I'd do that.
I love that. Just to have like a little fun tidbit of being like, oh, that's relatable.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like that's interesting.
Exactly. Hey, remind me, I need to finish filling out my application to be an extra. I want to do extraing. Is that what it's called?
Like
in
here?
movies. Yeah, why not?
That's fun.
I mean, mostly Hallmark movies.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know you could just fill out a random application.
Yeah, you have to take a
that.
headshot and stuff, but it's like whatever. It's not that hard.
Oh yeah.
And you need to know I need to get measured. Like I need to know what like they need to, so they can fit you for
they need your like
and stuff.
dimensions because they'll be like they're looking for
like,
a X-Men with like dark hair and these features and
So they actually have you in a
my
database.
coworker did that once because there was a casting call for like he's like and then he basically described the exact way that he looks like.
It's like okay, perfect.
Like, they're looking for this, and I was like, that is literally what you look like.
That's funny.
So he made me take like a flat picture of him at work. It was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That'd be fun if you got that.
Yeah, it'd be fun at least to be on a set for a bit. I mean, they filmed the movie outside my house. They always use the bar down the street as a set all the time.
Yeah, that's true. It's a fun bar.
At point it was like I think it was a recurring set on a show that was like on for a while on CBC.
Okay, yeah. They're always doing Hallmark movies in my husband's family's area because like they've those big nice houses in their area, so they're always using those as film sets.
Mm-hmm. Across from Peanut Park and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from Imperial TV, Andor meets Rylands. We learn he's a Taylor Weaver, 19 generations. Andor brings a new code crystal for them, so he's not just there to just check things out, but they're kind of checking each other out, and it's so interesting to see how Rylands is so skeptical of Andor and being like, "Oh, not much a revolutionary, are you?" And it's like, "Excuse me, motherfucker."
Yeah, like you don't even know what I've done.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, the use of the term revolutionary is like, let's use that more instead of rebels. Like, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah.
It certainly invokes, again, the French Revolution and stuff like that. But, it invokes, like, this like, much more, like, flag-waving, like, type of rebellion where it's like...
Yeah, like, underground, like, magazines and, like, old school communications.
Yeah.
And,
it makes me more think of, like, what the Rebel Alliance becomes later.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, he's worried that they're acting on false information, as you mentioned before. And essentially they, like, agree to disagree. He's like, I'm just here to take in what's going on, and I'll make my assessment, and... They're kind of like, we need the help, and he's like, that's not for me to decide.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, I think you're being too reckless on this, and it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's like, cool, you're gonna go find out something you already know. For what reason? Like,
yeah, exactly. It's dumb. It's dumb. I will say that I like the Clea clone, like his assistant.
Oh, yeah.
Who also does the radio and stuff like that. I like that's fun that there's one of them everywhere. And then so Luthen, meanwhile, argues about the listening device. Speaking of Clea, at the Skaldans, but we also learn about what kind of intel they received. They received a holo about a hollow news buyout. Skaldan was apparently buying off reporters, so shocker there. We learned that Yularen was lying about something. Not that surprised about that. And that Skaldan was courting the Grand Vizier, Masamita, the big blue guy with the horns.
Yeah, the horn, big.
That's
blue.
right.
Yeah.
He's been around ever since the episode 1. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
So yeah, Grand Vizier Masamita himself. And so anyway, that's a cool little reference. But they basically complain, or the argument basically boils down to, was it worth it? They have too much information.
Right.
Do we need a listening device in Davos Skaldan's offense? And to be honest, they didn't really get anything that useful, it sounds like. And it was risky, and they blow up each other. This is their thing. They blow up at each other, and then they kind of okay, wait a minute, we'll just calm down. What's the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And then they make it work. I love how at the end of the 3rd episode, they're chummy. They're all so chummy. It's here's your little listening device, and they're all laughing it up coming out of the party.
It's like getting in a fight with your boss when they realize, you were kind of right.
You were the
right.
Yeah, exactly.
You're all right. Yeah.
And the question is, who's the boss
again.
in these? It's kind of Clea's kind of the boss.
Yeah.
She's
in terms of all the information,
the logistics of
it. She's absolutely no, this is my thing. Don't tell me how to do my job. Right. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. You hired me to be the expert comms.
Yeah.
You have to trust that I'm doing the right thing, and I will call you out when you're doing making stupid decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's fun to see, because when he's with Clea, he's completely disarmed.
Yeah. Right.
So you get to see the hoity-toity version of him. You get to see the version he puts on for Andor, and you get to see his kind of disarmed version that he puts on for Leia or for Clea, which is I'm still not probably his truest form, but close as we get.
Yeah.
And it's fun to be he's overwhelmed. He feels overworked. He feels all this pressure that he can't show anyone or tell anyone. And she feels a lot of those same pressures. And they know that any little mistake they make could be enough to ruin them. By the way, they mentioned this on another podcast I was listening to. He should be using a better. He uses Luthen. People know his name is Luthen.
Is Luthen? Yeah.
That's stupid. Where's his fake name?
His fake name's Axis. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. It's but isn't that what the ISB call him?
Axis, yeah.
Yeah, that's
they don't have a name. They don't know his name.
Yeah,
obviously if they knew his name, they'd be able to find him.
Yeah, Luthen. How many Luthens could there be?
Yeah.
Oh, he's super tight with Mon Mothma. What a shocker.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, he's just the fancy collector museum guy.
Yeah, right under their nose. Yeah. It's smart.
The antiquist.
Is that his official title?
I would assume that's
cool.
kind of his whole vibe, is finding antiques and reselling them.
Yeah, but they should belong in a museum.
Yeah.
So he basically argues they have too much information. This is very much like the ISB thing, mirroring the ISB thing. They have too much intel. They don't know what to do with it. They can't sort it all out.
Right.
Meanwhile, back with Saw, the rebel that sorry, let me rephrase that. Back with Saw, the rebel that Wilmon was training can't figure out how to make it all work.
Mm-hmm.
We get this tense moment where we think he's going to shoot Wilmon, and he shoots the other guy.
Right. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, we're exposed. Pack all up the gear. We're out of here."
Yeah, you're with us now, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I love it's very Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
We get a stationary camera on, I want to say one of those Z70s or whatever.
As they
shot. take off and go into space and then go into hyperspace. Really fun. In Rogue One, you get to see the opposite, where that camera is on the X-wing as it pops out of hyperspace into the Battle of Scarif, and that is fucking one of the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, we get that moment here. Anyway, they leave the base, never to return. Probably never until the post-Empire Resistance era.
Right.
And then we arrive at the pipeline, where Wilmon is actually doing the real work. And while that's happening, Saw gives a very unhinged but cool speech.
Yes.
A monologue Tony Gilroy says he's great. He loves writing monologues. He's great at them. He says this challenge is getting people in the same room so he can actually have them talk to each other.
Yeah.
How does he? It's like, how do I get these characters together so I can have them like speechify?
Yeah.
So he gives this great speech. There's a great article on slashfilm.com that I would recommend people check out.
I feel like I'm just gonna have to say I feel like this speech gave me anxiety because Wilmot is like having to focus so hard, and it feels like Saw is just like yapping behind him.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like,
and
shut the fuck up, buddy.
Blah, blah, blah. It's like he's actually trying to do something so you guys don't fucking die. Like, can you just do this diatribe like in a minute when he's done?
Yeah, no
like,
shit.
I was just like, oh my god,
shit.
Like
yeah, it's a really great article on Slash Film that kind of explains his whole diatribe here.
Oh, okay.
And there's a couple different like sections, but there's one that's called Saw Gerrera, Rhydonium, and the Cost of War.
Mm-hmm.
So we learn a few new things. So one of the things that we know from his original appearance, by the way, Saw Gerrera, as we know him, is a George Lucas creation. One of the final characters that he's made. He obviously created Saw as a younger kid and then brought him back later.
Right.
As this kind of like Che Guevara type.
Yes.
And so we know him from as a young man it's like a teenager basically on Andor.
Yeah.
And
in Rebels, right?
In Rebels.
Yeah.
No, sorry, no, in
in the Clone Wars. Right.
Yeah, he's working with Ahsoka and his sister.
Yes.
Bila, I want to say.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, they're kind of like their own little rebellion on Andor because they're under separatist control.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to fight back on their own, and with the Jedi kind of training them.
Yes.
And ultimately what ends up happening is Saw, who's like very gung-ho about being more militant and all that stuff, his sister ends up getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
And her whole message was being like less militant, if I recall.
Yeah.
And so he makes this connection between Rhydonium. He calls Rhydo his sister.
Right.
Which is this explosive, corrosive substance that fuels the Empire or fuels their operations, right?
Right.
So the connection, I guess, there he's trying to make is that, like, when she died, part of him died, and this stuff kills your insides. It cooks you from the inside out, as he says. And therefore, the death of his sister was very similar to that. It ate him from the inside out.
Right, yeah.
So he sees the connection between her being a revolutionary and this, like, larger-than-life character in his life, right? Because his connection, they were both quite young, so at this point,
they were.
His memories of his sister are, like, probably very, like, twisted to, like, kind of fit his narrative, right?
Absolutely,
so he has this, like, whole speech about how he's like, embrace the corrosion, like, let it fuck you up, so that you can feel something, because it's in that getting fucked upism that allows you to be empowered. It fuels you, literally the fuel, to do what must be done, right? Because his whole thing is like, they're not going far enough. You need to do more, right? And so
dive in head first,
right? So I will cook my insides if it means I get the outcome that I desire.
Yeah.
So he's basically, this show is so fucking good, but it's like he's basically radicalizing Wilmon even more than he already was.
Yeah.
Because he was already a rebel.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, take off the mask, breathe it in, buddy.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about.
Poisonous ass gas.
Right.
Which is like, it's wild because it's just like Saw has this way about him that he's like can almost so easily radicalize these people to a whole new extent, and it feels like all the guys on his team are just as nuts as he is. Right. So he's just so good at this. He's such a good like talker to be able to like bring these people who do seem a little bit more like grounded, and he can kind of turn them into these more like radicalized kind of like soldiers or insurgents. Right. Like he's
a very charismatic person.
Yeah. And it's like, is that going to kill Wilmot?
Oh,
Like, is he gonna
almost
die?
100%.
Or is he like just gonna be fine and kind of crazy like Saw now and
Well,
addicted to huffing gas?
How many of let's say best case scenario, he gets back to Luthen. So then, in which case he maybe dies somewhere else. Worst case scenario, he is killed by Saw. Somewhere in between, he survives long enough to be exploded by the Death Star in Rogue One. So it's unlikely he comes out. It's like I don't think we're going to see an older Wilmon.
No.
In like
no,
anywhere
probably
else.
not. But I was kind of like curious. Like, is Saw trying to kill him here, or is he trying to indoctrinate?
He's
him
trying to
here?
indoctrinate him.
Yeah, because I was just like he was thinking about killing him earlier, so he's just like, yeah, you've done your part. You can just like huff this gas and die now.
But it looks so cool. This scene. It's it's in the rain.
Cool.
He's like doing the work. It's like clicking, and things are clicking into place. Then it's like the fumes come out.
And like Saw just goes up and like inhales. He's like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah. Okay, so here's a so part of this speech he talks about how he worked in a labor camp on Onderon with a bunch of naked dudes.
Right.
Because the fumes like destroyed their clothes, so they just worked as the naked men doing whatever they're, I don't know, as some sort of Rhydonium extraction. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
Or they were working near Rhydonium. It's unclear. But anyway, he's talking about how he's on the real jungles of Onderon. And I was thinking about that sequence in The Bad Batch, which I think is the very first, like the like opening 3-episode arc of The Bad Batch.
Right.
Where they are sent on a mission by the Empire to hunt down Saw Gerrera and his partisans.
Oh, yeah.
And they like have that face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, on Onderon, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, we go to Onderon in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And it's like he's talking about like the thick jungle, and it's fun to just picture this actor, Forrest Whitaker, as that younger character. Right? I do find a hard time connecting the original Saw to like the version of Saw we get that was created for Rogue One.
Yeah,
because I feel like they look so differently. They behave somewhat similarly, but like they're just, once he starts being played by Forrest Whitaker, it's like a completely different character. But like,
once we see him when he's older, he's like way more insane too. Like he's definitely like extreme.
He's huffing these fumes. He can't be healthy. Right.
But yeah, by the time we see him in Bad Batch, like he's a whole different level of kind of nuts.
Well, he's already in Bad Batch. He's already like an extremist, and then
Rebels also,
and then Rebels is same thing.
Yeah, like he basically tries to do the same thing to Ezra, but it doesn't quite work. Like to bring Ezra into his little bubble,
his little cult.
Yeah, but it's just not quite. Yeah.
He says, "I was younger than you are now. One day, everyone started to itch. Everyone all at once, even the guards. You could feel your skin coming alive. It was the Rhydo. They had a leak. You could feel it before you could smell it, and then they all panicked and ran away. But it was new to me."
Yeah.
It's so wild. So from that, and this is reading from the article from Slashfilm. From then on, it seems that Saw developed a taste for the Rhydonium fumes, and it's likely that his persistent inhalation of them over the years led to the internal damage required to use an oxygen mask during the final days of his life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but the storyline isn't strictly literal. There's more to it than that, and then that's when they talk about his the connection to his sister, who died when he was young.
Right.
So,
yeah.
If you're looking for that backstory, you can go check out the great Onderon arc in Clone Wars. So anyway, fun, cool connection there. Really great performance by Forrest Whitaker, and beautifully
he's so
lit.
good.
Really cool stuff. Top marks on that.
Yeah.
One. All right, last episode. We start on Port Steergard, and it's weird because it's like an actual like port with water.
Right.
Anyway, I was thinking more of like a spaceport.
Spaceport, yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Luthen is picking up Andor on his fancy ship. Andor gives him bad news. He doesn't feel like the rebels there are ready, and they don't know how to fight. But Luthen sees the planet as like a opportunity. He thinks that despite that, they have enough privilege and are positioned well enough that even if they fail, their failure will be enough. Because again, Luthen is an accelerationist.
Yes.
So
this is like the fucked up thing about
Luthen?
About Gorm and
Oh.
like everything that happens there. It's because it's like both sides are using them.
They're being manipulated.
And it's just like you kind of feel like, oh man, like it's like they're both doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, but
like,
I think again, it's like what could have been done, what could have been different, right?
Yeah.
They're victim of circumstance because they didn't realize that they're sitting on this like valuable earth mineral
Right,
that the Empire needs.
mm-hmm.
And if they had been more engaged and less, caught up in their own privilege, they would have been in a better position to handle this without being manipulated.
Right. Yeah.
So they kind of put themselves in this position, but again, it's not entirely like they don't own it entirely, but it's like they do a little bit. But yeah, it is true. It's like this is like they're being played from both sides. And like to be honest, Luthen wants the same thing that
they both is like the
outcome is the same.
He
wants them to try and fail, and so does Dedra.
Yeah. It's just like, she wants to give like the reason for the Empire to come down harder on them, and Luthen wants a reason to like draw attention to the Empire coming down hard on them.
What's interesting, I mean, it's again drawing that extended line, which is interesting here, is that like for Dedra, the reason for that is because she's been assigned this task, and the end goal is to evict everyone basically from the planet.
Yeah.
And for Luthen, it's because that happening, he doesn't know the reason, but for that happening, it will be the push that enough people need to wake up to the fact that shit's bad. You need to fucking do something about it.
Yeah,
and we
you
know
need to
that
stand up about it.
It pushes Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
So we know it's effective.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong, but this is like, and again, this all connects back to the Death Star, because this mineral is for the Death Star laser.
Yeah.
That Death Star laser will ultimately be the inciting, the learning about the Death Star and its potential like destruction capability is what incites the rebellion to act on Scarif,
right?
Which ultimately provides them the plans that Luke ultimately uses to destroy the Death Star, which is the first, in a long row of dominoes that eventually takes out the Empire.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. It's all connected, which is good for some people, and some people hate that. But
that's not the point. Yeah. It's a story. Like it's
but some people don't like the idea of like having to be like confined to lore, like be able to like just tell a story and not be worrying about the. And by the way, I think largely that's how Tony Gilroy approaches this, because this is all about humans and like they approach it.
Yeah.
But there are these interconnected pieces, and like Pablo Hidalgo, friend of the show, actually, is part of that. And he talks about how he talks to him, and he's like, oh, the name for their propaganda arm, the Ministry of Enlightenment, is already established lore. But there's other things that they had not, like the Kinder blocks they hadn't considered before.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luthen sends Bell and Casinta. So yeah, Andor's like, fuck this, I'm not.
Yeah,
I want.
I'm
no
not
part
doing
of this.
it. Yeah.
And I kind of like how he has the freedom to say no.
Yeah, it is interesting that Luthen's not like, you're doing it. He's just like, nah.
Yeah, because they haven't established the formal structures of like, at some point in the very near future, the rebellion has like formal command structure.
Yeah, it does.
But and even now to some degree within like some of the rebel cells they have that, but like this one clearly doesn't have that as formally.
No,
right?
like Luthen definitely is boss man, but it's like he doesn't. Yeah.
Well, and we actually see it's actually, now that I mentioned it, I didn't even consider this, but like Bell and Cinta bring that same level of like understanding to the Gormans. It's like, we're in charge. You follow what we say. There's no questions.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Right. And they're like, well, what about you're strangers or whatever? It's like, no, if we're doing this, we do it my way. And this is how it works.
Yes.
We're soldiers. You follow orders. Because if you don't follow orders, everything falls apart, as we find out.
As we see. Yeah.
So yeah, Andor reunites with Bix. We get this cute moment where they like, that might have been earlier, where they like touch each other's hands, but then they also have this moment where they like reconnect, and then like,
it's very sweet. Like he's like telling her about how good he looked. He's like, oh yeah, I was in this like handsome suit and like blah,
polished
blah, blah.
shoes.
Yeah, it's like, it's very sweet. They're flirting. Like it's soft. It's something we haven't seen a lot in Andor.
We never have time in any of these fucking Star Wars shows for anyone to be like,
Yeah.
act like a regular person.
Yeah.
Right?
And
This
it's
is something a regular
it's-
person would do.
He's like, oh, I'm just coming home from work and
Yeah.
telling my partner about,
my
day.
stupid boss. He's like, can you believe Luthen?
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, they reconnect, but he gets pissed off when he finds out about Luthen, and then he goes to
Yes,
see
that he
him.
had been there to see her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaks protocol.
Yeah. You
Just
can't-
storms
very
up there.
extremely risky.
Yeah.
But then maybe he wanted to like send a message, like this is how serious.
Yeah,
I'm
like
taking
this is how mad I am. Like
Yeah.
it's
All right. So Mon and Perrin, meanwhile, are getting annoyed about all the parties that they're doing.
tough life.
Yeah, but like the sentiment that's like, it's not normal. Like, why is there so many parties? Like, what's going on?
I think because that's what he's saying. He's like, man, it's like every day there's like a new whatever person getting promotion that needs to have this party.
Right.
It used to be like a couple a year, and
This
now
is
it's
like-
one every month.
I guess
Like,
this is the like, some allusion to like the wealth disparity problem. So like the
Yes,
rich
yeah.
getting richer and the poor getting
poor
poorer.
getting poorer. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also so funny that it's like the contrast between the problems of the rich. It's like, oh, like your problem is you have too many parties to go to, but
Right.
on Gorm, their problem is that like
People are
they're-
landing ships on them.
Yeah, exactly. People are landing
Yeah.
ships on them and building armories and
Right.
like trying to destroy their planet. But it's just it's the contrast is just wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fun to see that and to be
Yeah.
shown
Oh, of course.
to us.
Yeah.
And like I don't think Wilmon's had a shower in like months, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always fun to see Perrin being a douche. So 'cause
He's actually not
that's-
that douchey in this scene.
Yeah. That's true. He does seem a little bit more like, oh, I'm tired of this. Like,
Yeah.
how much more do we have to fake? Right.
The thing is, like,
But-
I think
but he loves parties.
Mon Mothma's family is doomed.
Yeah.
I think ultimately,
Yeah.
like, she's going to whatever happens when she leaves the Senate and she's dubbed an enemy of the state.
That's what I'm so curious about is like, how are they going to either keep them safe or keep them not safe? Like, how
They'll
do
be
they
put in? The best case is they'll be put in like house arrest, basically.
Yeah. Or like this is also I said that's probably partially why they have the Skulden thing. Like he's a gangster, he's high
Right.
high up there, he's chummy
You
with
can
like
use that as leverage.
yeah, kind of use that as a like Perrin being able to be like, yeah, like she's been going nuts for a while. Like I'm not. We have nothing
Yeah,
to
but
do
like
with
that.
this.
But like when you're trying to like exploit somebody, like
Yes.
that doesn't matter. Like,
No,
they'll
it
just
doesn't matter
use you
on
if they
her.
want to use
yeah,
you. You know.
that's true.
So if the Empire was like, well, we think that Mon Mothma was leading the Rebel Alliance, which she outs herself as doing later,
yeah,
then her family is a weakness for her,
yeah, they're either put in house arrest or they're hidden.
or
Like,
they're hanged
it's-
publicly.
Yeah, I don't think. Well,
Remember last season, the guy's like, I want to hang him. Remember that?
yeah, right.
That was wild.
yeah, so weird. Ugh.
So yeah, that kind of stuff is crazy. Maybe her daughter is not long for this world, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's got to be something that happens with that. Like, it's
Yeah.
gonna be weird if they just gloss over.
had a wedding and then we'll never see them again.
Yeah, right.
They do mention, hey, have you seen the kids later? It's fun.
Yeah, because haven't they've been gone for a while, probably on their
Yeah.
like honeymoon or whatever.
Well, I think
but-
they're probably back on Chandrila
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
working.
yeah.
You know. Okay, so yeah, they're worried about the parties. Andor confronts Luthen about the big stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts on that? Is he just upset that he didn't get told, or he just thinks he's being manipulated, or what's happening?
Yeah, I think he doesn't like the manipulation part of it because he's like, you knew that she was going to tell me, so why did you not tell me? Because I saw you first, right? Like,
right.
so he's kind of like, what's your angle? What's your game
Like,
here?
what are you
Like,
holding? What else are you hiding?
Yeah, like it's just like you knew she was going to tell me, so why would you not bring it up? Like, what's
Is that
your...
worth breaking protocol? Or I guess if I'm Andor, I'm putting myself in his shoes. If I think that Luthen is using Bix, who I care about, to
Mhm.
get to me,
Yeah.
then I would be fucking pissed.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he doesn't like the puppeteering of it. He's just like, be honest with me. Be like, why? What's the deal with like skirting around and doing this weird thing? Like when you could just talk to me, like
Right.
you know,
Do you think
person
that
to person. Like it's weird to just.
Do you think
What the fuck is up?
Andor's message gets through to Luthen here? I think it does.
I think so. Yeah, because like, is this where Luthen kind of says it's like it's kind of both our problem, right?
Yeah.
Like
right.
it's just
I
like,
want her to be as healthy
yes,
as you want
as
her
you
to be.
do. Yes, like
But for
he's-
different reasons,
yeah, obviously.
ultimately. But like,
yeah.
but you know, my enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's like, or you know, we're aligned on the outcome.
Yeah.
You know, does it really matter why? Right.
Mhm.
And you know, like again, it's a little bit rich, I think, for Andor to have these conversations about like the natures of war with Bix, and then when Luthen is operating under that same kind of concept, he's pissed about it. Like it's a bit like hypocritical. I think.
Like in all honesty, I do think like the whole underlying reason behind this is Luthen trying to be like, you can't coddle her anymore,
right? Because
eventually I'm gonna like
she's either gonna get better or she's gonna become a liability.
Yeah, and he's basically saying like, if you're just gonna coddle her, then I'll go around you and do it my own way. So like, help me out here. Like, let's work together instead of working against each other because this is both of our problems.
Right. And again, we both care about her. We want her to be
and he's just like, I had to do this shady way to piss you off enough to get you to like do it
realize
my way.
What's going on.
Yeah,
that's kind of his move. He's always been like the string puller.
Yeah,
bit of a
like he's just like, that's why I didn't want to tell you because I wanted you to get mad.
Right.
So that not necessarily that it would happen this way, but don't come here.
Yeah, and then there's like he's got like a little backstory for like why he was there.
Like, something about a medallion and you picked it up and whatever. But
I also like how they're talking through the door. It's like open and he's talking. That's like cool, and like that set's also cool. Like the way that like door like turns to open is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the Gormans plan the heist. I don't know. Like we talked about this already about like how it's important they follow orders. They have a plan. Intercept the truck. They know what truck to take because of Cyril's intel. Basically, I like to think of Vel and Cinti here as basically being brought as consultants. Like they're like, hey, we're here to help execute this plan, and with the knowledge of things that you guys don't know how to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so they set up a couple things like how they don't like to listen, and they are the only ones who are going to have blasters.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they don't listen.
Of course. There's always someone who doesn't listen.
Then there's this great moment where Mon is doing like an oath at the Senate. I thought this sequence was so cool.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, what the fuck's happening?
That Oathkeeper guy
here?
was like cool, and it was all very creepy. It's like
that feels like a Star Wars scene.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if you're like, you want classic Star Wars stuff, that's one for the books. Because like,
it helps when you're in that big Senate room though. It's like, it's so,
I know,
I love it.
That's why it's such a shame. Like, why can't we have? And I know that like, it's very rare for the Emperor to appear at the Senate because he doesn't want to like legitimize the Senate.
Yes.
So he purposely stays hands off, but like, it's just such a shame. It would be really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, like she's doing this oath, which is just like another sign of rot, basically, at the Senate, which is like, this isn't about loyalty to the people, it's about loyalty to the Empire. To the system.
Yeah, I love that she just like stops halfway through like, too. She's like, it's like, yeah.
Jar Jar, this is what you brought this on. This is all your fault. Misa, what does he say about like emergency powers? It's like, that's like, man, this is all. And I mean, it's not technically his fault, but it is funny to trace it back to him. You know that right now in the story of Star Wars, this is from the novel, so it could be rewritten, I guess. But Jar Jar is basically in like not an old folks home, but like he's basically been put out to pasture. He like he's like being put in like a mental health institution.
Oh my god!
And he hangs out with children and stuff because they're like like the people of Naboo were like see him as being like a complete failure. Yeah. And they're like, you were technically a senator for a while, but we don't respect you at all, and we're just basically gonna like put you out to like there's this
hang out with the kids.
There's this concept of like in Japan where like we're not gonna fire you, we're just gonna put you next to a window and you just sit there and you don't do anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's kind of like what they do to Jar Jar. It's kind of sad.
That is sad.
Yeah.
But he's a Sith Lord, so you know.
It's funny that they're like embracing that as like a fun like
as a
thing.
Goofy meme.
Yeah. It's like in Star Wars. It's Lego Star Wars, and it's in I think the new Fortnite thing.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of new Fortnite thing, I think today you could have seen early the new Tales of the Underworld.
Right. Yeah.
But
if
exclusively
you watch it
in Fortnite. So
that's such a crappy way to like have to watch.
Yeah, but remember when they revealed information about Episode 9 in Fortnite?
No.
About how the Emperor returned? That was in Fortnite.
Was it?
Yeah, there was like critical information about the movie that you could only get out of Fortnite, and people were like really upset about that at the time.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
That's
it's bullshit.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Okay, so they're planning the heist. Reminder: there's no point in this heist. They're just trying to make a point, right? Hey, to prove that the Empire's building an armory, not an annex. What even is an annex? I don't know. Just place you put stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
But like, where does that get you?
Yeah.
Doesn't get you anywhere.
Nowhere.
I mean, might get you some support from, like, you know, maybe from some senators like Organa and them, but like,
Yeah.
but like that's not really. I mean, it's just not like it doesn't really further the cause.
No.
Right.
No.
Although I do like how Luthen calls it the new front line of the rebellion. He's like another front line.
Another front line.
Okay, so at the party, this is Mon's attending some party. We get our introduction to the new Senator Organa, played by Benjamin Bratt.
Mm-hmm.
Very short scene. He's basically leaving the party as they arrive. He'll be back next week, I think. We get that cool camera droid that has like spinning lenses and stuff. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, they called it like a paparazzi droid in
that's so cool.
In the whatever. So
yeah,
like, that's ridiculous.
Anyway, so Clea is there also. She's trying to get the listening device back. We get this is fun because all these characters are combined.
Yeah,
right? We
yeah.
get some of the ISB agents. We get Luthen, Mon.
I
Krennic.
do. Yeah, I do love the like tete-a-tete that like Krennic and Mon Mothma.
Oh yeah, it's
go
so
back
fun.
And forth.
What
it's
is
very...
what do they say in the screen rant? Like the most awkward dinner party.
Most awkward dinner party ever.
Yeah.
Because they're just fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like this like political. It's like when you argue with a conservative. It was
yeah,
like
it's
a
like
far-right
the
extremist.
two
like,
sides of a
you
political
can't
party,
really,
and
yeah. You know, sorry, I shouldn't say conservative. I should say like, to be fair to conservatives, because there are normal conservatives, but like the people who like anti-vaxxers and stuff, it's like it's hard to like have a conversation with them without being like, "Are you crazy?"
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Clea's there. She's using Lonnie as a distraction. She's pretending to flirt with him.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of got the impression that he's like was kind of gay. That was my kind of impression of him. But he had a wife. So
he has a wife and a
baby. I don't
baby.
know why I thought that.
Yeah.
It's the mustache, probably.
Yeah, I think it is just the mustache.
Yeah.
That he's a thin mustached man. I don't know.
He's got a bit of a little bit of a vibe.
That's funny.
Yeah, and there's nothing against Lonnie. I like how he's kind of like been there, done that with this whole thing because his like what's his name, Dedra's assistant is like tossing back the shots and having a great time. Anyway, the listening device is in a Trinian artifact, which is a species that considers being blind to be like a blessing.
Right.
Which is really cool, like bit of lore building.
Yeah,
and
it
they've
is
got
neat.
this like great like braille.
Almost like a braille like storybook. It's basically a book, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what.
But
they
it's like
say
a
later.
big round plate, and then you like run your hands over it, and Clea always talks about how it was one of her favorite pieces, and she was sad and she sold it to Davos. It sucks. Who's someone who clearly doesn't care, although he does say that he's like, hey, he sometimes comes by and closes his eyes and whatever. But like, I don't believe you.
No.
So that's fun. And so while that's happening, we got the intercutting between the heist and her trying to, I guess, heist her own little mini heist
to get her own little listening device.
I just think that like the way that they do it is like is extreme tension as you can get.
Oh
because you have this moment where all the head honchos are
in the room.
Krennic is in the room,
and they're slowly going around to like
exactly.
Yeah,
and they're having this like quote unquote conversation, but more like an argument of like different perspectives. The line that we get from Krennic is like, "What? My rebels, your terrorists," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like actually,
100%, right?
There is different perspectives. Yeah, again, as Anakin said, from my perspective, it's the Jedi who are evil.
Right. Yeah.
To democracy. Anyway, Mothma and Krennic get into this. It's so good. I don't even we don't really have time because we're running out of time here to like get into it. But, to give it a little bit due, it's essentially about this like, I guess, historical battle that they have different perspectives on. Like the Imperial perspective is it was like a great victory, whereas the Mon Mothma's perspective is where what she understood was that it was more like a genocide.
Right. Yeah.
So so from a certain point of view, you get that again, which is obviously like classic to Star Wars, is the certain point of view perspective. So that's kind of the gist of that. It's just great to see Krennic here. Being a little bit of a smarmy elbow rubber.
Yes.
As opposed to him as like in his like job mode.
Yeah.
He does love the capes though, which then the
Yeah.
the set like the costume designer talked about how they wanted to keep him in capes
In
because
capes, yeah.
they're like, we just love the cape, so we're just gonna keep.
Yeah, Krennic in a cape is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that he like designed his own uniform.
Yeah,
you know?
right. He just seems more like pompous in a
Right.
cape too.
It's like, did you add piping? It's like, yeah, a little bit of tailoring. And I
yeah,
added some
it's just
piping.
a little bit of tailoring
Yeah.
shifts. Yeah.
Anyway, it's really exciting. The cross-cutting, her hand starts bleeding.
Yeah.
Lonnie is like freaking. He's sweating.
Yeah, he's like losing his
He's
mind.
literally sweating.
Yeah.
It's like he needs to like leave immediately because
yeah, he's like, I'm gonna throw up everywhere.
everyone's gonna be like, why are you sweating so much? He's like,
Yeah.
well, I just was really into her.
Yeah, right.
And she was just
I'm just
really,
a creep. I don't know.
yeah. I think believable if you're an Imperial.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, at the heist, the plan is being executed. They're stealing crates of Imperial weapons. It's kind of a really great plan. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna use this like shoot. We're gonna like
shoot him into the sewer.
into the sewer,
and then
load him onto a
your own-
truck, and then
Yeah.
drive.
I
them
do
along
love
the
it. It's like
Seine.
the upper to the lower level, and
Yeah.
then you like drive away on the lower level.
Yeah,
It's
great. It's like it's a very simple
Yeah.
and like there's again, but like it's a little too easy, and then they
Yeah.
should be like they should have been onto that. Like, why is it?
Why
so
is
easy?
this not?
Right.
This weapon shipment
not
not
a single
guarded?
person around with a weapon, just
Yeah.
one random stranger, and that's enough to get someone killed?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a like indictment of like what they're doing. Everything. It's like, why didn't you question this more?
Yes.
Why weren't you following orders? Someone is dead now. One of his best assets. or
Yeah.
the rebels' best
And
assets.
over like nothing.
Over literally
it's-
nothing.
Yeah. It's like the lowest stake kind of.
But also,
shit.
like, that guy is also being an absolute dick. But also, don't pull
yeah.
a blaster on him. Just like,
no. Like, what are you doing?
yeah,
Yeah.
de-escalation is the key there.
Yeah.
Anyway, the plan basically goes off without a hitch, minus the murder.
Yeah.
Or accidental. Sorry, homicide.
Murder.
Not a homicide. It's a
Friendly fire.
what's it called when you accidentally kill somebody?
Manslaughter.
Manslaughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is friendly fire also.
Mm-hmm.
And we get this really great sequence as they drive away, and it's Val basically just chewing this guy up.
Yeah. Be like, how dare you cry, you absolute
fucking
weasel.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
You will never forget how shitty you are, and I hope,
Yeah.
I hope, or I know that you'll never forget, because
Yeah.
I'm searing it into your brain right now.
Yeah, especially when she's like making it how known, like she was a warrior, she was like the best,
right.
like the best there was. Like you are nothing compared.
Best
to her.
case scenario,
Like,
this really
just-
fuels him to be also a warrior.
Yeah, it's just be like what you just took away from.
Like, what have you?
Thing
Like,
is-
what have you done? Because
Yeah.
you are a selfish,
Yeah.
simpering fool.
Yeah,
It's
Ugh.
so good. Yeah, you're like a boy,
mm-hmm.
just a little child
mm-hmm.
playing at being a man.
Yeah.
And what did that get you?
get you? Yeah,
It got you my soulmate killed.
yeah.
And yeah, she doesn't like kill him because she's smart enough
No,
to do that.
she's
but
like that's not how she deserved to go out. Like
yeah, it's also tragic because you get this like Bixen Andor reunion, and it's really sweet and touching.
Yeah.
And then earlier in this episode, we get this great moment where they talk about how Vel and Cinta talk about how Luthen wanted them separated, but now she doesn't
Yeah.
believe in that anymore, and she wants
Mhm.
to be together. And it's like things are going to be different now.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh no, she's going to die.
yeah.
Why would you say that?
Well, and apparently too, she just like survived some big thing that we don't really know about
Yeah.
either, and
she was
like,
injured for a long time.
like,
she didn't want to tell
ever.
anyone.
Yeah, and then she
Yeah.
comes back and just gets shot by some
Oh,
moron.
it's such.
Yeah,
it
it
is-
sucks. Like,
Okay, so who's next on the? Is it Wilmon?
yeah, Willman probably.
I feel like that's easy. It's got to be
Yeah.
someone. It's either Bix. Either Bix dies last. I think Bix dies
Yeah.
last.
or Luthen's. What's her name?
Clea.
Clea. I don't know.
Why would she be
She's
on?
Not, yeah.
I mean,
but
things would have to really come crashing down for Luthen. But maybe his operation is like maybe he burns himself
yeah.
to help Mon Mothma escape. He burns his own operation.
Yeah.
And he just it's only him and Clea that go down, and that allows the Rebel Alliance as we know it to get
Yeah.
established.
Maybe.
There's so many possibilities. I feel like, do you think they're on Yavin 4 by next week?
I don't know.
That's 2 years before the Battle of Yavin.
Maybe not.
This is 4 BBY, so it'll be 3 BBY, right?
Yeah. This is 3 BBY.
This is 3?
I think next week is 2 BBY. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. At this, I'm like, it's been so long. It's 4 BBY. Next week will be 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe not. It might be the week after.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll just be setting up. Because, like, Rebels also touches on, like, setting up that base for the first time.
Yes, yeah.
Because they move around to all those different, from the spider base, and then they go from the spider base to Yavin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my bet, we should have a death pool for this show.
Yeah, we should have.
Yeah.
It's too late now.
I guess Wilmon is
like
the next,
everybody.
the next easiest one. Yeah, I mean, they all die, but like, and then Bix, I guess, would be the last to go.
Well, Vel, too.
Oh, yeah, Vel. I mean, she might come out of it. She might be okay. You never know.
Yeah.
But she might become a little unhinged now that Six is dead.
Yeah, that's true.
And then this last sequence we get is, and by the way, I should mention Cyril was watching this whole thing, informing on the ISB the whole time.
Oh, he's just gleeful,
and he's so happy about it.
Like,
and
well,
I mean,
this is the best.
It's going exactly as planned.
Yeah.
And the ISB is super stoked about this whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question will be like, where does this leave the Gorman next week? I think they'll be under Imperial occupation next week. That's my guess.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna be more, because I remember them saying like they want them to get away with this, but like
then they'll slowly, and then like, because that additional pressure will make them like
then they're like,
out.
Okay, we got to keep going. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because they want them to be pumped about this win, and then to kind of get bolder. Right.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then so back at Coruscant, we get this. I'm like, whoa, what's Dr. I was like, Dr. Gorse? Like, what the heck's going on here? It's like, is this another dream? And then he's like,
I thought it was a dream at first.
He was having having a little like Japanese takeout or like Chinese
his little
takeout.
like dessert or whatever. Yeah.
And he like goes sitting down at his table, and then like as soon as the like door closes, you see Bix there, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You're like, fuck yes.
And then he's like, and then the line is like, don't worry, it'll only feel like forever, which is like a twist on what she said or he said to her before, but it's so much more direct and shitty.
Yeah.
And his scream is unreal. And then I'm like, are they just gonna leave him like that?
Yeah.
But no, they
blow it up.
She walks out the door and then shoots that guy just without any like mercy. And then they get the walk away and explosion behind them moment, which is
good.
Like
I
feel
love
like
a good walk away explosion.
It's really cool to see the rebellion on Coruscant.
Yes.
Because like when it's affecting the capital, like that becomes more like and everything that Mon Mothma did to like try to like undo the PORD is like this would immediately cancel that out.
Yeah, this is like it's a ballsy ass move.
Yeah, I mean
take a hit out on Coruscant.
It's a Navy facility, so it's not like it's not a like an ISB facility necessarily, but so it's like it's a military target.
Yes,
give me a military target. But it's still like an act of terrorism.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely
right, and again, another great like your terrorist is my rebel connection here. So, really, a lot of Schadenfreude moment here. Like, is that the right word for this?
Sure.
I guess if you like taking joy out of the empire's pain.
Yeah.
So you get that, and also like it's just a lot of satisfaction to see for Bix to like.
Oh, it's so good.
That.
I love getting her to see, even like last arc. I liked getting to see her fight back and kill that officer too that tried to attack her. Right.
Well, she's.
It's nice getting her to see, like, getting her to be able to fight back and like take back her power.
And this is so pointedly directed at this very specific thing. It's like most people wouldn't have the opportunity to have this type of. Revenge?
No, to get revenge on their torturer.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Luthen's handing that to her, being like, "This is yours."
That's a
like,
gift.
It's, yeah,
it's
exactly. It's he could have just had Cassian go do it, but I think both of them were like, "No, she needs this."
Well, he also said he wouldn't go on a mission without her again.
Yeah, and it's like, "Okay, cool. Your next mission is this then."
Okay,
like fix her.
Great news. Super easy. You just sneak into this unguarded facility basically, and then murder your torturer, and then blow him up.
Yeah.
And then you're scot free. You're out scot free. Oh yeah, I guess not necessarily. What does Andor say? It's like it's one thing to steal something, it's another thing to get away.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is I think a line from the Eldani heist, which is cool. Anyway, that's everything for the episode. We've been on here for 2 and a bit hours, so that's a lot. Thank you for everyone who's listened this long. You are a true trooper, a real soldier, a rebel, and a revolutionary in my book. We'll be back next week with more Andor. Keep in mind, May the 4th is in 3 days from when we're recording this, which means Tales of the Underworld will be available on Disney Plus. We will be holding off on our coverage on that until after Andor is done.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that. And I'm sure there'll be some fun thing. We might, if there's some news coming out of May the 4th, we'll talk about it briefly. But other than that, it'll be episodes 7 through 9 next week. Prepare for more sadness and death, and don't let your kids watch this show.
Yeah.
But until then, may the Force be with you, and we'll talk to you soon.